All right, recording. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to our show. My name is Lindsay. I'm your host, and I'm joined today by my co-hosts.
I'm Mikhail.
Oh, my turn.
Go ahead. Yeah, you guys go.
Yeah.
Fuck, do I say P, Adrian?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want to be.
P Farino?
No,
P-
Adrian.
You want to go by Adrian?
Yes.
Yeah,
Can we
Adrian.
retire Penguin, please?
You're done with
I will
that?
never retire.
No.
Okay.
If we ever address anybody as Adrian, aka Penguin,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's gonna stink, but
it will be. We're talking about
Can I
Adrian.
still say P?
If there's
P's
anybody
okay.
that has a nickname, it's you.
What about baby cakes? Like baby cakes is never gonna go away.
But I mean, you have a ton of because there's just so many different variations that people call you.
Yeah.
Which one's your favorite nickname?
Bobby.
Not gonna happen. Which, by the way,
No one's ever said.
Baby Cakes is the one that somebody earlier called voluptuous.
Voluptuous?
Well, yeah.
Oh,
Voluptuous.
what in the
All right.
Mexican is
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. This is a podcast just about us and what's going on in the world in general, topics that we find interesting. And we talk about stuff that's going on in our lives, our shenanigans, the fun stuff that we get to do also. If you enjoy our show, please don't forget to like and follow and subscribe and hit all the buttons, and that'll be on all the platforms.
Stay tuned for a name.
Spotify.
We're gonna get a name here real soon.
push the goddamn
Yeah,
button.
we're gonna get a name.
Yeah, once all this is opened up, we're gonna spam everybody. So, and then just eventually keep an eye out for live shows on YouTube where we can interact and answer questions. And
Me and Sal had a fun story at Buffalo Wild Wings. Get-
Yeah.
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah. I went over to his house to kind of help him, I guess, drill out some roots or whatever.
Yeah.
And he treated to lunch
And
Like a gentleman.
like a true gentleman. And we had a very friendly, very hammered patron that was there. It was almost like a group of regulars at 11 or 12 o'clock at Buffalo Wild Wings. Everybody knew each other. The bartender was already they already kind of knew everyone's order. They were expecting people on certain days. It was pretty crazy just to kind of show up randomly.
Yeah.
What felt like an afternoon, a late afternoon, was really like an early morning.
They were just getting started.
They were just getting started, and they were already hammered. Shots in.
Midday though, that's wild to spend the midday
Yeah,
at Buffalo.
We
Wild
walked in
Wings
at
drinking
12.
Kool-Aid.
how
Around
old were these
12:30.
people?
they were mixed ages. There was a group of old guys in
Old
one
guys.
corner. There was a group of younger girls in the other corner, right next to them. It was almost like assigned seating. And then the drunk guy that was I don't know what he was saying to Sal, was sitting on the far end of the bar, nearest where the back of house was. He had his laptop plugged in. He was charging his phone.
He was there
It's
with
not
his
e-
laptop?
It's not even 1 p.m. He is lit. We walked in, we sat down, we ordered drinks.
Yeah.
We were looking at the menu for food, and he leans over and he's like, "Hey guys, what are we drinking to?"
Oh my god!
And I look at Mikhail, I said, "This guy's on a good one."
But this was also a Friday afternoon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Friday afternoon, were two brown guys in the middle of this in Santee, right? And
Oh, that's where you fucked up.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
That's where you
Everybody
fucked
at the bar was, older white folk. Mind you, totally fine. They're totally nice.
Day one at the Trump's America, you
But
guys
we-
went to Buffalo Wild Wings.
But they
It's funny you said that.
Yeah, I'll say they put us on the spot to what are we gonna
It was
toast
day
to?
3. Yeah.
I told Mikhail, I was like, when he said, "Hey guys, how's it going?" He's like, "What are we drinking to?" And I was like, "I don't know, man." And then after he said, "Let's drink to our shitty bosses. Fuck my boss."
Yeah.
He obviously has some issues with his boss.
Amen, brother.
brother.
And then I told Mikhail, I said, I should have said, "Let's drink to Trump," but I don't know how that would have gone over. And he's like, "It would have gone over well. We're in Santee. Yeah, we're in the clan."
You would have been a hero.
If you want to see Trump flags, Santee is the place to go.
Yeah.
We did see
Yeah.
one, at least one, just
Trump
driving
flags
around.
and dirty feet. That's all you see out there.
Is that Santee?
Yeah.
Tagline?
Yeah. Good times. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm assuming that those older guys were probably retired.
Yeah.
Those younger girls, Friday afternoon, probably didn't have class on Friday afternoon.
Pre-game.
Yeah.
I think they said that. They're regulars there too.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pre-game at happy hour, go home, take a nap, and then you're ready for the rest of Friday night.
To be young again.
Yeah.
Dude,
right?
the bartender even did this cool trick with the freaking. She laid a napkin down and then she poured salt all over the napkin, and we're like, "What the hell was that?" And then she like puts our cup down and like rubs it in, and she's like, "So it doesn't stick." And I'm just like, "Oh."
Yeah, I thought she was hitting on us at first.
I've never
I would have
seen
taken
You
that.
think everybody's hitting on you?
You were about to say I would have taken that as you was hitting on me too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, out of all the places we've ever been drinking, and there's been a lot, I've never seen that before. So
Never have I seen that.
yeah,
It worked well.
no,
I've never
yeah,
seen it though.
I enjoyed it. I'm gonna do that everywhere.
Crazy. Just ask for a shitload of salt.
Yeah, and just lay it all over my napkin.
Can I have a plate of salt, please?
Yeah,
Is it wrong that the first thing I thought about when she did that? Well, the first thing I thought of was one, I've never seen this before, but the second thing was who's going to clean up that salt?
Yeah, not me.
I'm not me. I'm paying for this.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
I thought it was like just a little side salt you can kind of as you drink your beer,
Off the
but
just countertop
just
like that? Raw?
lick the countertop or something.
I love that meme when you're at a restaurant and your friend is bearing their soul, but your drink has tahini on it. So
It's all fun and games. You
Yeah.
get the salt in the room.
yeah.
Like, I don't care what the conversation is. I'm fucking licking that shit.
And I saw another TikTok
strong.
where this young Latina girl,
How do you know she's a Latina?
she was Latina. She had limes that she like peeled the limes and she just sprinkled her salt on it and was just popping them. You know, she's Latina, and
You know.
and then it cut to a black lady that was doing the same thing. She was like, "Oh hell yeah, that looks good." Like the Latina girl made it look like it was refreshing when she ate it. And the black lady puts it in her mouth and it just juice, so much juice, because that's something you had to like build up to.
Yeah.
Like that's a
That Latina's been doing
lifetime
that for-
of
Yeah, right. That was my grandmother. She was 70 doing that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's Mikhail
Yeah.
or Juju. You know, he's been doing that since he was born.
You grow
basically.
up doing that.
Yeah.
Carry extra tahine bottles in your backpacks or your purses
Yeah.
or something.
We grew up on Baby Lucas.
Lucas.
Yeah.
Remember Lucas?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, so let's just go ahead.
We'll go
and-
right into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Get
Should we address
into
the
it.
elephant in the room?
What's that?
You got an elephant?
Trump?
Oh, you wanna? Yeah, we can go straight
Yeah,
for it.
I mean,
Let's go straight for it.
if that's where you want to go, I mean,
I thought we were going to talk about you mailing these Pokemon cards out.
That or reverse osmosis, filtration. Either one.
Oh my god.
I mean,
I don't want to talk about this.
I mean, your
reverse
pride and
osmosis.
joy right now is that water filter.
I
Huh?
need the button.
It's
Need the
amazing.
button.
He told the story about what the plastic taste, and tell the story.
Oh, so
Get him started.
Plug your
Don't
water.
reel him up.
Plug your water.
I know. I feel like I should be getting paid for this. So I got a reverse osmosis filtration system put into my condo because I started reading a lot about microplastics and phthalates and BPA's and BPS's and these forever chemicals that are leached into the water that we drink. Not to mention there's fecal matter in the water. It's pretty bad, right? So I was like, all right, well, how do you drink water without all that? I looked into these RO systems, these reverse osmosis systems, and I installed one. First week I had it, it was amazing.
yeah.
You know, you're not drinking out of plastic bottles, which is good. You're more, eco-friendly.
It tastes really good too.
It tasted amazing the first week.
Yeah.
He was at my condo and he had some, and he's like, "This water's legit."
Yeah.
But then the second week,
H2O.
high quality H2O. The second week, it started tasting like it had a plastic taste to it.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, well, is something wrong with the system? I'm doing this to prevent microplastics. Now it tastes like plastic.
giving you plastics.
Yeah, what's going on here? So they come out, they put a brand new system in. I don't even pay a penny.
They reversed the reversal?
They reversed the reverse osmosis system. I didn't pay a penny,
They hit you with the Uno button.
and
Uno reverse
now it's
card.
amazing. It tastes like there's no plastic taste to it. It's
Okay.
Wait, so what happened with it? Like, why did they have to replace it?
the technician that came out said that he tested it before he replaced it, and he said that tastes normal. I said, "Do you have one of these in your house?" He's like, "Yeah." And that tastes fine to you? He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, well, it tastes like plastic to me." He's like, "Well, I'll replace the system for free." They replaced the system. He said, "If it still tastes like this, then we're gonna have to take the system out. You're just gonna get reverse osmosis water, but you're not gonna have remineralization in it." That's what I think was making it taste like the plastic.
Yeah. You need
So,
that remineralization.
Yeah, you need to. So they did that, and now it works perfectly, and I'm stoked. I have really
Bomb-ass
really
water.
clean water. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I feel like Adam Sandler in Waterboy.
Right.
drinking water from a glacier.
Right. My parents have one of those too. And every time I go, I make sure that I have just like an empty cup ready for ice and
Fill up on
like,
their water.
yeah, because I know it's going to be good, you know.
Although there's a lot of fear mongering going on with those microplastic things because
Button.
you hear. You hear,
That's a button.
I don't know if you guys have heard this, but
Fear-mongering.
they're saying that on average, Americans are consuming, what is it, a credit card worth of plastic every week.
I mean, absolutely.
With the plastics in the water, with the plastics that you inhale,
The plastics that you're eating off of, the
it's in your
forks,
clothes, everything.
yeah.
Condoms.
Condoms.
In the air, really, at this
Adrian's
point.
allergic.
It's in dude semen now.
Yeah, they're finding it. They're in your
Plastic.
I wonder if they did a study and in every single man's semen they found microplastic.
Oh,
They found it in heart tissue. They found it in brain tissue.
I wonder if there's.
I mean, it's
if there's,
probably.
like,
I have an IUD. There's absolutely microplastics in my uterus. Like,
I wonder if there's more microplastics in micropenises. Probably, right?
That's a
It makes sense.
great
It would
point.
make sense.
It's a great point.
Like microplastic. micropenis.
Logically, it makes
Logically,
sense.
there's more
Yeah.
in there, right?
Yeah.
That- as a
you know,
result
like
of,
calls to
yeah.
like, right?
Right.
Maybe that's why it
Is
was
that
a
why you got
micropenis.
the total system?
Don't start it. Don't start.
God.
Yeah.
You talk about the 666 thing that me and Macau were talking about the other day.
666 rule. You ever hear about that?
No, what is that? Some devil shit?
No,
Illuminati
let them
shit?
know. Let them know. Drop them on some game.
I feel like you can explain it better than I can.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean a little bit. Essentially, the 666 rule that's going around social
Oh,
media,
what
right?
every
with,
girl
with
wants?
chicks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Little OF girls or whatever. They, what is that? They're looking for a guy that's 6 foot that makes 6 figures.
Almost.
This next one you definitely don't have.
And I mean, they're just looking for 6 inches of
That's
heart.
it?
Yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? Some high quality
Lowercase check.
lowercase check, a little micro check.
Micropenis.
and yeah,
That's like a criteria that a lot of girls online are promoting.
Hey,
The
you know what?
666 rule?
As a tall girl, like,
Uh-huh.
can you short bitches leave the tall men for the tall girls? Because
I feel like a
I
lot
love
of
you, tall woman.
I feel like a lot of tall or bigger guys like purposely go for like short and like
like really
No.
thin. I feel like that's the case.
That doesn't for me. Not they're
I mean, look
angry
at
little
Shaq's-
chihuahuas.
look at Shaq's wives.
yeah
Anybody.
anybody yeah no
But
yeah.
his wife is like extra short. At
Yeah.
least his like baby moms. I don't know if they're still together, but
and finding
Taller, good-looking girls in general is not always that easy either.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah.
because they usually date basketball players.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, because they like tall. They still want, even though they're tall, I feel like they still want to date tall guys. So, like for me to date a girl that's 6 feet tall would be awesome. But,
Perfect.
yeah, but no, she's probably dating some basketball players.
I don't know how often.
and did you ever come across guys that were shorter than you
well,
that you actually dated?
I did actually date one guy who was like legit like 5'6".
And how was that?
I do.
I mean, it was cool with us, you know, like obviously like we were cool enough with each other to have a relationship, but I didn't care about it.
But you ended up with 6'4" king. over
Right. But I would think so. It was like one dude that was like shorter than me. The rest of them were like the same height
there. Okay.
as me, maybe taller.
Was that what attracted you to Macau? Was his height? Was like the first thing you noticed? Or was it?
No,
It was a smile.
He saw it. No,
It was a smile.
No, she saw it. He wore basketball clothes to work.
no. I mean, I think the
Except
first
to
thing.
work.
No.
He wore
Well, because
basketball clothes.
we were working together,
Yeah.
so I mean, he looked really good in his uniform with a gun, like.
Oh yeah.
But no, I
Yeah,
think
shotgun.
I think what attracted me to him the first time was about like how he carried himself, and I don't know, he's just very approachable and had a lot in common.
You have a weird thing, man. People
Love
people
to talk
love
to you.
telling you their most personal,
Yeah.
deepest, darkest secrets
Weird.
Yeah.
2 days after knowing you.
It's so weird.
And
Yeah.
it's been like it's not that,
Yeah.
that's not just one person. It's been like everybody. That's
I will pour my heart out to Macau.
No, yeah.
that's different. You've known him your whole life.
No, but still, like
People he knows for a week will pour their heart out to Macau.
Yeah. I
He
don't
just
know
has
what-
this weird thing.
I don't know what it is.
even Jonathan still was like, dude, I love working with Macau.
Yeah. I
Everybody
don't,
loves Macau.
All right. Well, I mean, talking about Trump, you know, he did win the election. He actually won the popular vote this time around.
I did not see that coming
Which-
at all.
It was pretty convincing too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had no idea that was going to happen.
But then with that, we've also got Republicans winning the House and Senate. So all three branches are now Republican. So
Doesn't that just speak to like Americans that are fed up with some of the stuff that's been going on, maybe from the other parties?
Exactly. I think it was total just rejection of the other side's just ideology and kind of just wanted basic, I guess, issues met. And whether they 100% aligned with Trump per se, they just felt that he spoke more to their issues than the other side did. I think that's all it was.
I think any Republican would have won.
You think so?
Any Republican.
They just were ready to
Yeah.
switch.
Kamala wasn't going to win.
I think, I think it's
as
a
long as it was
hard,
a Democrat.
yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow. I think for people to not only have the first woman president, but have it also be a black woman, and then also the fact that Democrats didn't get a primary to choose her. You know,
Which is wild.
right?
There
you
was
know,
no primary.
yeah. So that I think that a lot of people were very kind of thrown off by that. And you know, and you vote for anybody other than Democrat or Republican, and it's just you might as well not even vote for them. So
I think a big thing was what Mikhail just hit on was people were just like fed up with the ideology that the other party was. I mean, you see, so first of all, there was a lot of lies that were caught, like a lot of lies that were caught, just blatant lies.
Right.
But then the wokeism and the ideology around the whole, you know, transgender stuff and having, you know, fully intact men in women's locker rooms, like,
Right.
you know, wanting to encourage your children at such a young age to take hormone blockers, like that. A lot of that stuff was, I feel like people were just fed up with it, and they were like, "This is not,
Right.
this is not good for us. This is not good for our children. This is not good for the future of our country."
Right. One side.
At least for me, I felt like I would feel very attacked as far as if I wasn't having the same opinions as people that are supposedly, you know, you're supposed to be, you're brown, you're black, you're part of a minority group, you're supposed to think a certain way. And if you didn't, you were either a fascist, a misogynist, or a racist. And I didn't feel like that was a fair depiction of what I saw as a positive by looking at what this conservative side was doing. Because I don't necessarily feel that I'm 100% in line with everything that is represented as a conservative. But I think that's the best part about being, like, at least in America, an American. You can pick and choose, and like you just kind of side with what kind of aligns with you the most.
right.
So,
but
and
I think for me, what America means is being able to have the right to choose who you want to be. And regardless, you know, if that's you and your 13-year-old child deciding that they want to go on, that's a decision between you and your child. And to me, I feel that a lot of the Republican stuff is very like in Christian ideology, which doesn't agree with everybody. And so to me, that's taking away from allowing Americans to choose who they want to be or what they want to be. Or I think that they want to protect free speech, but not for everybody. They want to protect, you know, they want to protect babies by taking away abortion, but they're not protecting the women that die because they need life-saving medical care. So, I mean, to me, there's very hypocrisies on both sides. Absolutely. You know, like, I don't necessarily agree with every single thing that Democrats agree with, but I feel that I agree more with Democrats just because I am also, like, you know, as a male, your freedoms, like your choice to do anything with your body, no question is on any ballot, you know, as there is for women.
Right.
So
Yeah.
my concern, I think, is just for those people that don't have the privilege to live in a state like I do that protects people like me. So
Sure, yeah.
yeah.
I'd say like on the flip side, I'd say a lot of the conservatives would say the censorship of speech, especially like online, was being like a hot topic.
I saw that a lot.
Labeling things as misinformation
or disinformation.
just it and how it should be a privilege for
Okay.
people to have that speech, and not everybody should be able to do
So
that.
are they then going to allow, are they going to continue to allow people to speak about being transgender or anything? You know, because I
Right.
feel like if they're outlawing things like that, then that's like affecting free speech, and it's
Well, the
they're
thing,
choosing to save free speech for only
well, hold on.
a certain type of person.
I'm speaking in regards to liberalism is the one that's trying to censor misinformation spread by, you know, they use that a lot when they say Trump lies a lot and he's spreading misinformation and people are falling for it and we need to do something to stop it. That right there already kind of crosses the line as far as like what should be freedom of speech and what should be censored. And really we should just allow, pretty much we got to let it all ride. Like,
Everything, the good and the bad.
that's
Freedom of speech
what's
is
part of
also
it.
allowing hate speech.
Exactly.
And if you don't like hate speech, I've always said the answer to bad speech or hate speech is better speech.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can't articulate your point,
Yeah.
well, that's part of the problem. But it's one thing to threaten people. You shouldn't threaten people, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Like nobody should be harming other people. But hate speech is a form of free speech.
Right.
People should be allowed to say whatever they want.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to endorse their opinion or agree with them.
Right.
because think about when all these things were written down as like on paper by the founding fathers or whoever, they were escaping a country that wouldn't allow them to have, right? It was like monarchy type countries.
Yeah.
So when they came here, they already had an idea that your speech might not be hate speech today, but the next person who takes the throne tomorrow may all of a sudden decide that his opinions are different, and from now on this kind of
Can't talk
speech
about
is
that
different.
stuff. Yeah.
So to circumvent that, they just say, look, we got to let all speech be free speech, freedom of speech, right? And then to kind of help keep that those rights intact, then they have your what is that, the whatever amendment it is to bear arms and protect yourself from the government in case things start getting infringed on, right? So they all kind of tie together based on a place where they've all kind of traveled from, and they wanted to kind of start and build off of what they left. So
It's crazy that was written like what 1776, the founding fathers.
Right.
I mean, and it still holds so true till this day. The First Amendment was the freedom of speech, and the second one was the right to bear arms.
Right.
Like to protect that freedom of speech. That's how valuable it is. And if we lose the First Amendment, like we are essentially going to turn into a communist state, right? A communist regime where we're going to, have full on censorship, a dictatorship, whatever you want to call it. That's what makes America such a great place to live, is that ability to have the freedom of speech.
Right. Right. Well,
I get the idea of freedom of speech, but I think too people with big platforms should kind of be careful with what they say.
right.
Like somebody like Kanye, right, or
Sure.
even like Trump, like
Out of like etiquette or being a role model.
crazy shit. Yeah,
Yeah, but should they still be allowed to say
Like,
the
I
wrong
get
things?
that point too. Like,
That's-
it's
that's-
their American right to
That's
say.
that's the conversation.
Well, who has one of the largest platforms in social media or for podcasting? It's Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah.
That's the number one podcast.
Yeah.
He says stuff all the time that some of us right here at this table will not agree with.
Oh yeah,
But
But that's the best part.
part about, like I said, being an individual. We're not all the same.
Exactly.
We're friends because we have very similar like morals, values, just things that we kind of have a bond over. But that doesn't mean we're all the same thinking. There's a reason why like we're friends, but at the same time, that's that awesome individual part about every one of us, and that's what makes a society, and that's what makes some people succeed in some areas and others succeed in other areas. Like it's all part.
like,
We shouldn't condemn people
I
for
like
that.
Adrian, but we'll never agree that I can't heat up frozen foods in the microwave.
Right. Well, I don't know.
He thinks I'm a savage for that.
Any thoughts?
I'm just trying to remember. I'm trying to think of times that I've come out of the room and you were sitting in the kitchen eating something that just didn't look right. Like,
That just didn't look right.
yeah, you remember you put pot
stickers
in the microwave.
I think waffles,
Yeah, this is wild as shit.
Whoa.
Pizza's in the microwave.
pizza rolls.
Pizza rolls.
Those are some good, you're a
I
bachelor. You're a
may or
bachelor.
may not have been extremely inebriated.
You guys are both bachelors, just doing bachelor shit. You know
I
what
used
I
to
mean?
do a lot of bachelor shit.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
It's funny though because you have a 24/7 sombrero, literally like
Oh, they know
outside your
that.
front door.
Yeah,
Oh, they knew
know
us. They knew us by first name.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that was the sombreros.
We made plenty of sombrero
No.
runs.
Have you guys seen these videos that have been released by Trump addressing certain, I guess, subjects that he plans to do? Like so for example, the freedom of speech stuff. There's a clip that
The one that I reposted.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
There's a clip that he's just kind of speaking to the camera probably, and he outlines just kind of these things. So we'll play the freedom of speech one.
Right?
Is it like the 6.5 minute long video?
It might be. I'm not.
You're
sure
talking
off the
about
top of
like
my
no
head.
more censorship from big social media platforms.
Yeah, and I kind of want to know.
Know what your guys' opinions are. Because mind you, at the end of the day, Trump is a politician. How much of these promises that we're getting, they sound great, but how much is actually
that's Trump.
going to
That-
happen?
That's Trump. He said whatever it took
Right?
to vote.
And if that's the case, all of us need to be informed on what he says, because obviously there's going to be medias with their own agenda that is going to twist what he
Hold on.
says.
This video is 2 years old.
It's what?
This video is 2 years old.
No, there's no way. Those just came out.
I feel like I got to do a better job of informing myself too. I think
Me too.
just to stay sane though. I don't want to know what's going on. I don't want to get into debates.
For the sake of, because regardless if it's 2 years or not, it's still within that time period of him knowing he's going to run again. So
Yeah, it's still valid.
these problems are still stuff that he can kind of choose to run on. So not only just hear him out and take him for full word, right? But actually like see if he actually does what he says.
There's got to be accountability.
We
right?
have to, because for those of us that did go out of our way to vote for him, there needs to be some accountability on us too, to understand that we need to be analyzing his every step, every move, the way that we were doing with Kamala, the way that we were doing with Biden, at least for those that are becoming informed. Regardless if you want to get involved with it or not, doing these little talks or shows like this, you're going to just pick up on stuff, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And you're going to form your own ideas, your own...
In any president's defense,
All of
though,
us should.
They're on a short time frame. Like,
Right.
4 years is not a long time in retrospect to get a lot of the stuff done that they need to do. Like any president, right? And there's also a lot of red tape. Now, he might not have as much red tape as other presidents before him because the House and the Senate are both Republican. I'm sure that's going to help
It should help him
push
get
the agenda
stuff-
a lot quicker.
No excuses.
But there's always so much red tape with, and then you have one president do something that's really good or maybe not good in 4 years for it to be undone by the next one.
Right.
But there's also a lot where presidents implement things to happen in the next, the next term, or what, tax hikes or changes in policies or whatever that take effect after they're out of office. That happens all the time.
Right.
So, I mean, there were tax hikes on the middle class that Donald Trump imposed that didn't kick in until Biden was in office.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's
The more we
Yeah.
stay informed on stuff like this, and mind you, we don't have to go so far in the weeds of everything. But when there is a major event like an announcement video or something, I think it is important for us to at least hear it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because when we go home and scroll on our phones, you're going to see a headline from somewhere, who knows where, that is going to misrepresent it. But at least you know what was actually said. And you can start to figure out where the deceptions start coming from, right? And regardless if they kind of take his words out of context or not, you can at least say, I heard it myself. This is what he said, and this is what I thought he meant. I didn't take it the way that this headline, which, a lot of times may write it, which is, I think, is important, because none of us are 100% informed in anything, So I think,
it's hard to find the source too. Like, it's hard to find what is not fake news.
No, yeah.
In this day and age,
something.
yeah.
Reading an article is written by somebody, right? With an opinion.
More times than not.
Even when I Google it, I'm like, well, is this website legit? Or
Yeah.
is this like,
Well, isn't it true? Isn't it true too? And you might be able to speak to this with your IT background, that a lot of data that is on some of these search engines is curated. And when
You can make data tell you
and
anything,
yeah,
right?
everything on your phone is an algorithm. Everything on your phone. And so everything, you look at one post of one hashtag, and then it'll keep going. So
Right.
you search.
so is a lot of the data subjective to what we like our own
yeah.
interests and preferences, and it's not
that's-
necessarily
and
objective
people,
data.
People are getting like caught in this like tunnel vacuum of just
Echo chamber.
Yeah, echo
Yeah.
chamber.
That's what Cambridge
and it's
Analytica
just
did.
the same, threatening, crazy kind of conspiracy theories, and you can't really get out of it. And really,
Wait, are you guys familiar with Cambridge Analytica?
No.
With what they did?
No.
In the last election? They got in trouble for basically swaying the election. They took all of Facebook's data. They took all of basically all of Facebook's data
I did hear about this.
and made everyone pro. Like, that's all they were showing you on your feed was pro Trump, pro Trump, pro Trump.
Oh, I know that they what do you call that? Like, they started hiding the Hunter Biden laptop thing when that went down, literally right before the election.
Even if you were searching for it,
you couldn't find it,
Yeah.
and that could have swayed a number of people. Who knows? Enough.
To win or
But
not.
the fact that they can do that is scary.
No, and which
they
should
do it all the
scary.
time.
I know,
There's
that's
all
scary.
they'll distract you with some sort of crazy news.
everybody
And
needs
then
to stay
quietly
skeptical.
over here, there's policies being passed, or bombs being dropped, or whatever. But look at over here, this is shiny.
And
Like,
what's funny is that there was a search engine that I heard on multiple podcasts for a while called, I think it was called DuckDuckGo, that was supposed to be objective, not non-curated data. So if you were like, the example was, if you were to look something up in Google and then search something in Google, you may not find it, or you may have to scroll down multiple pages to find it.
Right.
You put that same exact search into DuckDuckGo, and it's the first thing that comes to the feed, right? And it's because it's not curated, it's objective.
Supposed to be.
Well, DuckDuckGo started getting talked about on a lot of podcasts, and there started to become more awareness about it and what it was. And now that is doing the same thing that Google was.
So you don't.
And people started talking about a new thing called Bravo, I think, or Brave or
because,
something.
I mean, how do we stop AI from like taking over things like that? There's
It's not even
like,
that too. It's just the sponsorship. They want the money.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Sponsored ads. As soon as you go to Google,
Right.
the very first website is going to be a sponsored ad.
So
So
let's-
whatever you're looking up.
Let's play this video because
Yeah,
he says a lot of stuff.
He does say a lot of stuff.
Try to, I know you guys can't watch it. He's just speaking. There's not a whole lot to look at, but like I said,
It's just him in a suit.
try to pay attention to what he says. And like I said, everything that we review, we should keep in mind for future events and see if he actually does what he says,
He's not wearing any bottoms either.
Oh my God.
I wouldn't.
Well,
I'm not.
He better be wearing a diaper because
like
apparently he can't hold his
Look out,
belly.
it's like NFL players in the locker room.
Yeah.
Suit and tie,
Yeah.
and then underwear.
Yeah, underwear. I'm not.
I did
Alright.
3 interviews like that.
Here we go. Here's
COVID.
the video.
All I hear is that the AI videos of Trump when he says, "I love the Latinas." They call me the torch. That's all I heard. That entire
Grab her by
6 minutes. It was
So-
like, they call me. Yeah, that's all I heard.
I've got one big question about this because he says that any educational system who is trying to censor information will be withheld from federal funding, and they won't get
For
any
5
federal
years.
or more. Yes.
Or more.
Yeah. But then, so what does that mean for these schools that are banning books? That's censorship, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, would he be banning all those? Would he be taking funds from all those schools in Florida? In, you know, like, there are some things that I think, like, yeah, there's, sure, you should get a reason for why you're being removed from a social media platform, right?
Yeah.
Cool. But I mean, a lot of it just to me sounds like he's upset that he got banned from Twitter before Elon Musk. Like, that's what it sounds like to me. He's upset that he didn't get to put his tweets out. Like,
He's
yeah.
two things came to mind. One, he's truly a philosophizer.
That's
He used
you.
a lot of big words for no reason, according to my friend
I don't
Adrian.
think he took a breath the whole
And
the
the
whole
second
time.
thing
Shout
I
out
thought
to
was,
editing. That was some wild
how
editing.
bad would that have been if Biden said that? He would have been fumbling through that entire thing.
Oh, if,
Well, he can't even talk.
in the execution.
But mind
of
you,
it.
My point.
apparently this was a 2-year-old video. So
Yeah. It's
You might
pretty
have-
interesting with him saying his inauguration, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I don't know. I guess we still got to figure out if these videos just got released. I was under the impression that they were.
I thought they were too.
Are they even legit? Like, did they come from his site, or
Look,
is it?
they're-
yeah,
they're-
look, this
they
was
are-
posted December 15th, 2022.
Oh, okay.
He says a lot of great things. The thing that stuck out to me the most was, talking about big media platforms that have huge influence, like not censoring or curating their data.
Yeah, we should be able to agree that they should stay out.
Yeah, like that.
Let us get what is being
But how do
said.
you,
But
how do you
Stop
achieve
put-
all the stuff that he said?
stop
He
putting-
said so much stuff. How do you
Yeah.
achieve all that?
But
Yeah.
also the Instagram, X used to be known as Twitter. These are all privately owned companies.
Exactly. That was my.
Yeah.
That was gonna be
So
my
you
point
can,
right now.
I mean, if I own a company, I can make guidelines for saying that people can say whatever they want or not. You know what I mean? Like it's my choice. It's my company. If you don't like it, then you don't have to use my brand.
Yeah, but the companies will take dollars from anybody. They're in it to make money, so that's when they start taking sponsorships.
Yeah.
Or they start taking deals.
I mean, but
that
I
are-
mean, politicians take lobby money for to make laws. That's how they decide if there's gun laws or not, because they get hundreds and thousands of dollars from gun people. So what's the difference between if I own fucking Instagram and I want to prevent people from spewing hate speech?
Like they should be able to monitor that themselves.
Exactly.
Right. Like that, yeah, I
right.
agree.
So why? I don't think it's because then you take away this censorship of free speech, and then I think that goes further into then a whole myriad of problems of not being able to get people out of your bit. Was that a big word?
No.
Okay, sorry, that didn't.
It's only when
okay.
I say
Yeah,
it.
the only one Sal says
Right.
it. Yeah, we need
But-
a button for Sal.
But then
ridiculous.
that opens up a whole
big word.
bunch of doors, because then anybody can claim anything under free speech,
Yeah.
right? So
If promoting terrorism, that's
What do you-
free speech, right?
What do you
Like-
mean? What do you mean? People can claim anything under free speech, so they could say.
right. So you're saying, oh, this person is stalking, harassing me, they're calling me, they're leaving voicemails, they're threatening me. Oh, free speech. Then there's legal things.
But
I
there's a
feel
law.
like that
There's a law for that.
Right.
Yeah, hold on.
Like there's harassment.
There's harassment laws.
Yeah.
There's
So
even
if
a penal code that talks about annoying phone
it
calls.
doesn't protect you from people who are breaking laws.
Yeah,
What's the penal code?
I don't know what the
I
number
know you
is,
know the code.
but
I know you know.
no,
the
there
penal
really
code.
is. It's funny because me and Macau learned this when we worked at one of the properties in the past. But there is an actual penal code for annoying / threatening phone calls. So that's a crime. Is my point is you can't just say or do anything and say, oh, it's free speech. There's laws that protect people too.
I get free speech, but I don't know. I just don't feel like anybody should just be able to get online. And if if their words are gonna cause something to happen, like not to say that Donald Trump had anything to do with January 6th, but if he did, if he could have easily said, "Hey, you guys, let's not," what was it, the Capitol?
Yeah, Capitol building.
Hey, don't raid the Capitol.
So I think so.
I thought he did say don't do that.
No, I don't think he did.
Told people to go home.
Then he also said there was a bunch of good guys on that side.
I think that was a different.
Was
that
it?
was the Tiki Torches guys.
Oh yeah,
There's good people
I
on
thought
both
he
sides.
did tell people to like go home and peacefully protest. I could have sworn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patriotically,
Yeah.
peacefully. But I don't know. People nitpick how long it took for him to kind of say some of these things. But
Is that what it was? It took him like it was towards after
people
everything happened.
people
already?
nitpick all kinds of stuff about it. But at the end of the day, he never once told anybody to specifically do that. But at the same time,
That was more of a QAnon thing, wasn't it?
I don't know. There's a bunch of people that just oppose.
I gotta,
him
I, yeah,
or
I,
whatever.
I gotta be more informed. I gotta. No, I'm good.
But it's just one of those things where his rhetoric doesn't help.
But he also, like, that includes bringing back like school prayer, which, remind you, isn't the Second Amendment freedom of religion. So if you're praying, so.
Go ahead.
Okay, so, I mean, that's, how do we feel about?
I don't think religion should be forced on kids.
No.
At all.
No, it's
Right.
Not, it's not to be forced. It's to be allowed again.
If you want
Is
your
it not
child
allowed?
to
Is it
pray,
not allowed right
Because
now?
it was not allowed to do that. So he wants to just allow them to do that if they want to do
but
that.
if you want your child to pray, that should be something that you do at home before you send them to school, and maybe back at home when they get home from school. And, you know, like, that's up to you. That's not,
And then that means one religion, right? One prayer.
Well, but when you say
Schools is multiple cultures.
exactly.
But when Mikhail says allowed, are you saying that he just wants to allow schools to be able to offer that again? They don't have to offer it?
Right, yeah. Cause
So that's a choice.
A lot of schools started restricting that and preventing students who wanted to do that from doing that.
But the school can
That's it.
still choose whether they want to do that or not. It's just going to be, it's offered to whoever
Right.
wants to partake.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like you two are talking about it like it's going to be mandated in schools.
People
They
need
have
to
to
pray
do
or
this.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, if it's not mandated, then that's
No.
fine. If it's he wants to make it okay to do it if you want to do it.
If you want to do
Sure,
it.
I
For
agree, that's
whoever
fine.
of whatever religion to do it.
Cool.
And mind you, the Department of Health thing, he speaks about it in the way that that's governed, like education being governed on the federal level, and he thinks it's more appropriate to push it back to the states for them to decide how they should do education per their state, right? So, I mean, as a rule of thumb for me, I think I've learned that less government, the better. I would prefer people in my region, Cali, San Diego even, decide what we should learn instead of one person in Washington telling the whole country what we should learn. So, I mean, we can watch the clip, but he mentions it'll save so much money having to eliminate this Department of Education. You know what I mean?
I mean, why would you want, if you are in California, why would you want to be learning the same things necessarily that they're learning in Maine?
Exactly.
It might be a whole
Well,
different
right.
demographic.
We absolutely have our state history that we learn. They do the same in Maine. They do the same in any state. You learn about the history of your state, right? Like, fourth grade, we all learn about the gold rush, right? But there's also things that we in California learn that they don't learn in Alabama, which is things like
Alabama.
yeah, which is things like slavery,
she said
or
that.
you know, like, which I think it's crucial to have that education, especially in places like that, because you take away telling the history, then it happens again. Right. So, but also fun fact, Alabama didn't legally legally they started allowing interracial marriages in the year 2000.
Whoa,
Oh wow.
a little behind.
Yeah, fucking lot.
Yeah. So blow your mind a little bit. But also, you know what Alabama also has? The worst education, the highest maternal mortality rate, the highest fetal mortality rate. Like,
some of the best football players that go to the NFL.
sure, you know,
I mean,
like
I'm
there's
roll
nothing
Tide,
else,
roll Tide,
there's
that's all I'm
nothing
saying.
else to do
That's all
than
I'm
play
saying.
football, right? Like
Them boys are good out there.
Like
If anybody saw the quarterback for Alabama tonight, he was roasting LSU.
We're never welcome back in Alabama. We're never gonna be welcome.
well, but I mean,
I was saying good things about
but I think that
Alabama.
there's, I
football
think that
team's
there's
amazing.
like a certain level of education that, like, obviously, like the higher level of education you have, the more that you know, and the less education that you have, obviously, the less that you know. So
But if he takes away the Department of Education, who is going to control, or
each state.
He wants the
state?
state
Yeah.
to decide.
Oh,
so
okay.
your governor, your
So
your
the
city
so the
council
state
people,
that
that makes
already
more
is
sense
the
to me.
Yeah.
worst when there is a Department of Education, the state, where do you think that state's going to do?
poor Alabama then?
Absolutely fucking nothing, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's things to think about. Here in California, we have a privilege because we already have these things kind of ratified in our state's constitution.
Well, you always have a privilege.
Well, what I mean, I do absolutely, but we do. I do recognize the privilege of living in a state like California that is
No, for sure.
fairly, you know, it's everybody is welcome here. There's not a lot of issues for, you know, people of color or whatever. We learn good, you know.
Yeah, no, I like
Literally
I agree with that.
everybody
I
is
like
welcomed
that.
here.
I like that, like letting the state control it instead of one.
Even
Yeah.
criminals.
Well,
I
right.
think most things should not. We don't need a whole department at the federal level to decide for every single. Like it's almost like a micromanaging kind of. I feel like each state should decide what they should be learning. You know, and I mean, mind you, I'm sure there's like a baseline level criteria that needs to be met, right, for the high school level or middle school or whatever. But I mean, why do we need to pay, you know, millions of dollars for people at the federal level to do stuff that I'm sure people at the state level
Right.
also already have a hand in? I'm sure already have a hand in, and which seems to be the focal point of what he's trying to find areas where he can become more efficient in, right, and
Yeah.
cut money, save dollars, unneeded spending where it doesn't, you know what I mean? So
I just find it hard to then it's not the United States of America. Then it's just the states of America. You know what I mean? Like we're not united if everything is just left to the states to decide.
Well, we are, but there's a reason why we have the collection of the states, because each state does kind of have their own governing bodies, and together we are a collection, the United States, right? But I think there is some sort of autonomy for each state, which is why there is electoral votes, right? Like they do try to have a little bit of certain, like, you know, difference between Iowa, Cali, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like they just don't want to lump in everybody as one.
But that
giant
electoral
thing.
vote, I mean, we've seen can be pretty unfair.
Well, not to harp just on the electoral thing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say that people like they are divided, but at the same time we are a collection of one. But there is a division.
Yeah.
Like we are little countries in a way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we are states.
Florida is definitely its own country.
Right.
Shit.
They do their own
I mean,
thing, you know?
honestly,
Florida-
like I wouldn't mind making California its own country, its own thing.
We're
like
one earthquake away from
Well,
becoming-
Texas wants to be its own country.
Right.
good. I mean,
They should.
The people that live in Florida are barely American.
But the thing is, like they there is enough distinction with the way that our politics work for them to decide things. We don't. Texas doesn't have to do the exact same things of California. They allow their group of people to vote on whether they want to be California or not.
I think that the issue that I have is that then you have the criminalization of people that then have to travel outside of state lines to do something that they want to do.
Sure, but I mean that's all part of it, you know. Like you have the freedom if I agree more with stuff in a red state, I have the freedom to move to a red state. Not everybody has that luxury to do it, and I understand that. But the point is that freedom is there.
Right. But I mean, I think that the issue is then that the people that don't want to live in a red state typically don't have the money to move out of the red state.
Sure.
You know, like it can go both ways for sure, but
Right.
yeah.
The alternative I would think would be like, making every state the same then, just because some people can't move out.
I just think that there's like certain areas, certain states, they're remote. They have, like harder to get out of your bubble type thing. I do think that it is kind of a good idea for there to be somebody saying like, okay, here's something like bigger than what you are to be learning. But that's just me. That's maybe my personal value.
No,
I think that
cool.
knowledge
Yeah.
is power. And I think that by taking away the education system, that is taking away the power essentially from the people, especially to defund the public school system. You know what I mean? Not everybody can afford private school.
I don't think that's what
So.
he's saying. I don't think
Well,
that's part of it.
Yeah, by eliminating he has a 10-point plan. Let me just really quickly hold on.
Let's hear it.
Well, I don't want to watch another video because it's a long. Hold on.
Point. I know.
Can we like Google his 10 points?
That's what I'm.
It might have it in the like comment section or the little note section of the video. No. Well, I know one of the things that came up is allowing students to have freedom of choice of where they go to school, and there's pros and cons of just allowing kids to go wherever instead of automatically assigning them based on zip code and stuff like that. So I mean,
I think they should assign kids to whatever schools they need to go to based off their gender. No, I'm joking.
So they think so like I guess the pros are the popular schools people will have an ability to try to get in, right? But then what happens to the other schools? Well, they're hoping that those schools will then up their performance,
Who wants to teach at the school that nobody wants to be at?
right. So they're gonna hope that
gonna
what
pay
are they
them
doing
more?
over there at that school? Well, then we got to start bringing up our competition too. Bringing up
It's
our
It's like
Yeah.
Castle Park compared to like Otay Ranch. Everybody wanted to go to Otay Ranch because
Yeah.
Castle Park was
except for me. I went from Otay Ranch
right.
to Castle Park, baby. Just throw it out there.
you bleed red.
Just letting you know.
What if you have what if you have a school of too many kids with white shoes
all-
that are dirty?
We all bleed red though. I don't know why I said you bleed red.
No.
We
Yeah.
all bleed red.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true too. Otay Ranch didn't have kids in wheelchairs with dirty shoes.
So
That's a fact.
Yeah, Macau made sure of it.
that's a funny story.
Yeah, I guess so.
We should get into
It's
this.
funny because that's not even true, right? Like, isn't it not?
What is it?
That story's been filtered so many times as, like, you didn't really.
My intentions have been misrepresented in these stories, but
No, he really said that.
Okay, so
I
you did say that.
really made a comment about his
He really
shoes
said
being
that.
So you were
dirty.
making fun of him.
I never said
No.
it to him, right? He was never there. He just rolled on by.
But
He rolled on by.
Well, he didn't
You can't
walk
say things
by.
like that.
clearly, you didn't walk by.
No, he didn't.
You should play
coulda
that.
said.
You
You
should
could have
play
said.
that Tokyo Drift song right now.
You could have said he zoomed on by.
Yeah. Well, and it was just a.
Didn't you ask the question?
question?
Didn't you ask the question honestly, like wanting to know
Yeah. How did shoes get dirty?
how did his shoes get dirty? And
Right.
then, well, Kyle,
Yeah.
you can't
The
ask
most
that.
of- the
Yeah,
most offensive
You can't ask
person-
that question.
I know.
How did his shoes get dirty? He's in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Right.
It's kind of a valid question, though.
Right. I didn't think anything wrong with it.
I mean,
I wasn't trying to talk shit.
is he like getting home and people are helping him take his shoes off,
Maybe he
and
just
then they're
throws
getting
them.
them dirty,
Yeah, maybe he just throws them on
and
the
then they
floor.
throw them back on the next day?
Yeah.
Maybe he kicks him off. Oh no, he can't. Kick him.
Wow.
Wow.
That was
Okay, now that's
intentional.
bad.
That was intentional.
That was 100% intentional.
Oh my God. Okay. So with Trump being elected, a lot of people have, excuse me, with Trump being elected, there's been a lot of people kind of coming out of the woodwork and really expressing their true inner feelings. And one of those people that recently came to the forefront of the media is somebody named Nick Fuentes.
Oh, we're going straight into just
And
I know nothing about Nick Fuentes.
incel talk.
Who is Nick
so
Fuentes?
Nick Fuentes is a right wing podcaster
Like far right.
who's
Like
who's
he is
very
far right.
MAGA.
Like Looney Tunes far right?
He's the
I mean,
guy
he's got a
that'll
podcast.
he's the guy that'll find positive things about Hitler just
Yeah.
because he knows
He's-
people are gonna get shocked by it.
Yeah, he
was that
does
guy that
shock
was with
value.
Kanye when Kanye was on Alex Jones.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
exactly.
he was in the spotlight this week because after Trump was voted in as the next president, he immediately on his podcast and then tweeted it out, said, "Your body, my choice, forever." Period.
In regards to
Roe v. Wade?
Abortion,
Roe v. Wade,
yeah,
right, abortion.
women's
Wow.
right to choose, women essentially being able to hold jobs, like it could go all the way to the
dickhead.
top at
so
that
what's the
point.
saying? My body, my choice, right?
Yeah,
So,
right.
Dickhead
He said,
thing.
he said, your body, my choice.
Right.
Forever.
He's trying to get views, right?
Right.
He's just trying to do that shock value. That's his content.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing that's now even, I think, funny to me, for lack of
That's what it
better
should be,
words,
'cause-
is it's kind of funny because he was very vocal about making choices of other people's bodies. Other people then leaked his address, his phone numbers, all of his
Oh, yeah.
personal
Karma.
information.
That's
He
Twitter.
had to block his house on Google Maps or whatever, however you do that.
Rightfully so.
But I mean, it's like, well, like you want to know
you
what it's
poked the
like to not
bear.
have choices. Like here,
Poked the
you're not going to
bear.
be safe in your own home.
you're literally speaking to the
That's a scary reality.
Yeah.
0.5% of the 0.5% of the population would agree with that, with those statements.
That rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone else is obviously going to be like, "Fuck this guy!"
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as I see him, if I ever see him,
But he thrives off that.
Right.
right.
He
Well,
likes that.
Right.
whether you dislike his videos or like it, you're gonna get points for engagement.
Yeah.
So then-
have an opinion.
So this leads now into, did podcasts really play a huge part in this election?
Oh yeah.
I think they did.
How many people are listening to podcasts from this guy or from Andrew Tate or from,
Shout out to it. I love it.
like anybody anybody like that? You get in that echo chamber
Yeah.
of just hearing the same shit over and over again. And you have people that are basically breaking down women, basically saying women are property, women shouldn't be able to choose, whatever. Of course, you're going to have somebody, voted in like this. So
I don't think Nick Fuentes was a big enough platform enough to influence the election. I think he was just kind of hitching a ride on a movement that was already
Absolutely.
happening.
Yeah.
And he tried to attach his logo to it.
right.
But overall, as far as that statement, whether podcasts played a part in these elections, I think absolutely.
I think so too.
I'd say we're at a new time now where podcast has so much influence, more so than legacy media,
Yeah, for
traditional
sure.
media, and I think it's only going to continue that way. I think podcasting is going to be a regular part of someone's campaign now.
Well, look at the numbers that Trumpito did on Rogan. He was doing
Right.
like over 1 million every
Insane.
hour.
Insane. And how many people trust Rogan?
Right.
How many?
So then that leads me to the next question, which is, we know Trump went on Rogan. We know that he went on a bunch of different podcasts.
A
We
lot.
know that he's been
Over 10 different
Yeah.
podcasts.
And
not
went to
even
McDonald's.
just in campaigning for this presidency, but period. And whereas Kamala didn't do Rogan.
Certain ones.
Certain ones, right? I know Rogan cited the fact that Kamala wanted him to come to her.
And only 45 minutes.
Yeah. Which, I can kind of understand. You're on a campaign trail. You're not necessarily,
Sure.
sure. Okay, but could that have changed the outcome?
Maybe not, but I think she
It would have
should.
helped her.
I think her and her campaign team now realize how much they should have prioritized media off of traditional media. Mind you, Trump's blueprint throughout his campaign was almost avoiding traditional media. He skips out on 60 Minutes to do Logan Paul. He does a sit down with Aiden Ross on a live stream.
He tapped into the right young voters.
All of these things,
Right,
were-
but right,
the
what
young
are the
men.
what are the demographics of these
Right.
podcasts?
and all of these people,
18 to what, 29?
Young
30?
voters.
yeah.
White, probably young men.
But think about
Right.
the kind of people he decided to interview with. They were willing to give him long form. They weren't there to have an agenda to misconstrue his words. Like, it was almost good faith interviews. They were very thankful to have him on their podcast. And all of that led to an audience that ultimately helped him win.
Right.
And these are people that they're just not regular interviewers. They're people that we follow on a weekly basis. I know I listen to half of those guys' podcasts every week. And it was kind of nice to kind of hear long form someone speak and kind of not necessarily break out of their political like little facade, because I think for the most part he held that Trumpness to his interviews for the most part. But the fact that he was willing to do it, he wasn't afraid to be pushed back if someone did try to push back, by just putting yourself out there. Kind of showed a lot of trust. He gained a lot of trust from his listeners and his viewers by doing that.
He gained a lot of trust. It made him more human and relatable
Yeah.
to the American people.
He became a lot likable.
One thing that I think is a disservice when they do those debates is that they ask them a super, super complex question and they give them 2 or 3
30
minutes
seconds.
to
Yeah.
respond. Like,
Right.
you want me to unpack this in 2 minutes.
Right.
And then the next person is going to just,
of a plan.
yeah, it's just going to be like discrediting everything you said. The long form conversations, I think you're right. It gave people an opportunity to see him in a little bit more, like in a little more humanized way.
Yeah.
And then I think it was 100% part of his strategy to
Yeah.
target that demographic.
Right.
You know, I don't think it's an accident that you have Dana White speak at, you know, when he gives that speech at night, talk about thanking the Nelk boys, thanking Bussin' with the Boys,
Right.
thanking Joe Rogan.
Yep. Aiden Ross.
All of that was by design, and clearly it paid off.
No,
Well, we live in a generation now where they are the new people that you want to.
they're the movie stars.
Yeah.
There's no more George Clooney, DiCaprio of our time. People are going to movies at a lesser rate than they've ever been.
A celebrity cosign is not what it used to be.
But YouTube
Yeah.
or
The
Spotify,
the streamers.
we spend more time with these guys.
What's funny is those celebrities that you just talked about, like those celebrities now are going with really influential podcasters more.
Yeah.
Where it's not like the podcasters are seeking out the movie stars. It's almost that the movie stars. I know that
It's part of the promotion run. to
you'll
go-
see Matthew McConaughey with Joe Rogan
Right.
at sporting events.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know who's, you know, reaching out to who, but
That's
you're
a-
seeing more people. You see people with the Nelk boys.
Exactly.
I mean, so who are the 5 years ago? Who were the Nelk boys, right?
I still don't know who they are.
I think that flaw of her avoiding Joe or putting such a restriction on his platform, all it does is just kind of further give speculation and feed into like people's conspiracy, whether she's just a political plant.
She's out of touch.
She's she could only parrot the things that she recites and practices over and
She
over.
has her little earpiece in.
Regardless if those were true or not, her avoiding these platforms where you're given a chance to build connection, where you're given a chance to give people time to get to know you in a way that's off the political stage, they're going to look back on that and be like, whether that was the sole reason or not, that was a very big reason. And she played into focus groups, right? She played into majority black,
Women.
young men, and the women. Those were her two focus groups that she prioritized, right? The thing about that is she missed the biggest black podcast out of all of them. They took stats and looked at what podcast do black listeners listen to the most? And guess whose podcast that was?
Probably Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
It just so
Everybody loves
happened Rogan is so big, he consumes so many different people. Black people are part of that group. So not only would she have hit her focus group, but then her gravity would have brought in more people to trust and kind of understand where she comes from on a lot of things.
I'm probably the only white person that doesn't listen to Joe Rogan.
That's okay. Not everybody listens to Rogan, and
what
that's
did,
okay.
I mean, I don't listen to the podcasts that I do listen to are usually a specific topic.
Themes and stuff,
Themes,
right?
yeah.
Like forensics.
What
And,
did-
true
what did
crime.
Elon say the other day? He said you don't, in terms of long form conversation, you don't really get to know somebody until you hit hour 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's only so much you could recite.
right.
Because you could, it essentially said you could fake 45 minutes.
Yeah. Right.
I can give you,
Right.
you know, something shiny. And,
A job interview.
Yeah, a job interview is a great analogy because I have done hundreds of those in my career, and you think you have a rock star in front of you,
Right.
Because you have even a 60-minute interview,
Yeah.
and maybe that interview even entails going to the floor and doing some, like, you know, real world application,
Yeah.
or on job application, and then 2 weeks in or 4 weeks into that person, you know, in their probationary period, and you're like, whoa,
A total con.
you missed a bunch of red flags.
Yeah. And you could only do so
I had a
much.
45-minute conversation with them.
You could only do so
Yeah.
much. And I mean, I think that they're going to look back on that. Rogan, whether he wanted to be a political influence or not, will from now on
Yeah,
be
they have to
every candidate's
Yeah.
go-to interview. And honestly, Trump like killed it. He not only went, but then he followed up by sending his VP right after.
Smart.
And his VP held his own.
Funny.
He did very well. You know, before we even got a chance to even get to see his VP like out and speaking in public, all I heard was the guy was weird. He kind of was like kind of off-putting, and watching him for myself, which, you know, like we're trying to kind of push out, do your own research, look into things yourself. So upon me watching him doing interviews, long form interviews, the guy couldn't have been more relatable.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. So
And
I don't
he
know.
Relatable, articulate,
I look
well thought out.
I like him way more than Trump as a person.
Yeah.
And I feel so much more comfortable where the Republicans are heading in the future away from Trump. This guy, to me, carries all the same values politically, like the goals that they're trying to go for, without the rhetoric, without the negative energy, without the little pokes at the other side.
So
without shooting from the hip all the time.
conspiracy theory time. If
He-
something happens to Trump, this guy takes
This
over.
guy, JD, I feel so much more comfortable with. Like,
I don't think something's gonna happen to Trump. I think he's gonna be a successor.
I think, right. And
Well, there's now been 3 attempted assassinations.
There was a new one.
Yeah, he
was the new
didn't
one?
actually like get to the point of anything, but he was
this the
planning
Coachella one?
an attempt.
He's the 50 Cent of politics.
So there's the actual shooter, right? There's
Many men.
Butler, Pennsylvania. There's that one, the shooting of the ear. There was the
golf
one on the
course.
golf course, and then
Was
there
that
was
was that golf course on Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah,
That was
in
his
Florida.
private golf
It was in
course,
Florida.
right? I
Yeah,
thought he was on
I don't know where.
Mar-a-Lago.
But then there was the one that happened at his Coachella rally where they arrested someone who had a rifle in the vicinity
But they had intentions to.
with the intention of
Wow.
committing a crime. So, you know.
Oh,
however you wanna-
apparently it was so assassination attempt number 3 was an Iranian plot to kill Donald Trump before the election. And
Wasn't this even something that because if I remember reading about this later on, he even says that he was going to get paid off by the government to do that. And it wasn't necessarily any time frame specifics to it. As long as he got it done, money wasn't going to be a question. Whatever he needed to get paid in order to do it. Mind you, these are all just kind of reportings from.
He said the government paid him to do it.
That's what he says.
The Iranian guy.
The Iranian guy said that. So who's to say?
I love a good conspiracy. So
Well, I mean,
There
campaign is
can
full
be
of
a
them.
conspiracy wrapped around all three attempts on Donald Trump's
We
life.
still don't know any information on that kid who fucking
On the
got
roof?
killed on the rooftop.
Yeah, no.
Who they
and
professionally scrubbed his apartment.
Who is
yeah,
he?
and he
who is he? Who
came
supposedly
out in a
was a
BlackRock
registered
video?
he was in a
Republican.
BlackRock,
Commercial.
Yeah.
You saw that?
And I mean, there's so many things. The fact that he was that close to hitting him without actually hitting him, like that, there's no way. There's,
Well, how
I
far
feel
was
like
he?
it's
300
harder.
yards? 300 yards with iron sights on a rifle is like
Anybody
it's like
who's
a chip shot.
proficient in shooting a rifle could make that shot.
Right.
Easy.
And so I feel like you would have had to plan to hit where he hit.
Well, the thing is, not even the top shooters in the world can necessarily nick the
An
side
ear.
of an ear.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was necessary. It makes a great story, and it does seem plausible just because we have so much distrust with Trump in general.
that was planned.
But if
I'm sorry, was that an AR-15 that he used?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Mm.
It could have been. I mean,
I
it's
think
pretty
I
easy
think
to
he
use.
meant I think he meant to kill him
Exactly.
because
I think
like
so,
to your
too.
point, even the most accurate shooters in the world that can shoot
Yeah.
pinpoint accuracy a mile out, they're not gonna.
I think
the bottom of the ear you're talking about.
What I think
centimeters?
anybody who has any familiarity with firearms shooting, target shooting, precision shooting, can kind of tell you that a purposeful shot to the ear, very low chance of hitting.
If that was your intent,
I could do that.
So
Great shot.
I mean, I
got
think
big
it's
ears.
I think it's way more plausible that this kid was that this kid had an outside influence.
Yeah.
Very inexperienced shooting.
which by the way, why did they cremate him so fast?
Right. They got rid of this guy so
Why was his apartment
fast.
professionally scrubbed?
And he has
And
no
that's what I'm saying.
He has no
There's
social media footprint
Why did he?
whatsoever.
Didn't they say he had no utensils in his apartment either?
Dude.
But then
it was all weird.
supposedly there were other people at the rally that died because of this, right?
From
So
his mission. He shot multiple shots, right?
So how easy it would be to just hit these other people. Trump goes down, gets a little blood capsule. Oh my God, my ear.
I don't think that's very plausible though.
It's like wrestling.
I mean, there's conspiracies. I don't
super
think it's
real.
plausible for some kid with a gun to get up on a roof when Donald Trump with his Secret Service is right there.
That was kind of crazy.
I have less faith in our government to correctly plan this, super sophisticated protection, everywhere they go. I believe that there was a failure with them more so than I believe that Donald Trump hired his own assassination attempt. Just because of the
I definitely don't think that this kid was acting on his own.
I don't think so either.
And with how
No, I don't think so
with
either.
how weird everything is with afterwards him being scrubbed and
he had the momentum already, right? Like this wasn't
that
necessarily.
cemented it though. That cemented his win.
I don't know because there was also because this was prior to Kamala's nomination.
But that picture of
Right?
him going like this,
No.
getting
Badass photo,
right?
definitely. But the motives behind it. Biden was still on the card, right?
Was he really?
Yeah, they did not decide to remove him until after
His debate when he couldn't talk.
So right after the debate, after this attempt, so Trump already had this momentum of he was doing well at this point already, right?
Yeah.
And then Kamala gets nominated. So then there's this breath of fresh air. People are looking forward to a new change. And honestly, it was kind of hers to lose because everywhere she went, people started to kind of pick up that she kept saying the same things. She wouldn't separate herself from Biden. Mind you, I understand she has allegiance to Biden because obviously she's still connected
The
in
vice
that party.
president, yeah.
But at the same time, people were unhappy with what the past 4 years were. You need to either throw him under the bus or you need to have an actual detailed plan on why you're different.
I think it's I think it's more reasonable to say that him walking around before the shooting with the rangefinder, him getting up on the rooftop within 200 to 300 yards from the president while he's giving a speech, him getting those rounds off. I think it's more logical or reasonable to say that all of that was gross negligence from the part of the Secret Service, because I know that they're highly trained and I know that they're highly skilled and that they should be doing reconnaissance work prior to these events. But I think gross negligence is a real thing.
Yeah.
I think probably is more likely if you're just talking about logical
We've all seen the post office.
Yeah, I think
there's a reason why no one fucking
that's
people
more
would rather go
logical
with
to
FedEx.
say. And then also the conspiracy part is that's all logical to say, but that he was working with somebody who truly wanted Trump dead.
Right.
Because that kid still killed people.
Yes.
The person that was, shielding his wife, right?
Yes.
He was shot and killed.
Yeah.
So it's not like he didn't kill anybody. He was I think he was trying to kill Trump. Who he worked with, we're never going to know. Right. Because they took care of that real quick, just like they took care of Epstein. Because I don't think Epstein was hung himself.
Right.
They're gonna take care of Diddy the same way.
Save that for another episode.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What is it? GBH? GHB?
GHB, baby.
I don't know. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
GHB?
Yeah. The date rape drug.
The oil.
Probably the PV shit that we got in our drinks or something that made us feel like we got date raped and shit.
Microplastics.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It is. It's a microplastics. It's a micro date rape.
Right. Well, yeah. That's kind of the gist of how podcasting, I believe, influenced. I have a connection way more with the podcasters I follow.
Yeah.
Trump damn near hit the majority of them. If Kamala maybe would have prioritized some of those too, I think there would have been a lot more openness to kind of feel comfortable with her.
I can see that.
Right.
What?
Not to say that she would have won, but there would have been at least a little bit less of a lopsided decision.
Why do you think podcasting nowadays has more reach and influence than legacy media?
I trust them, right? I hear about Andrew Schultz and his family and his friends, and I hear his stories.
Right.
Same with Rogan. I hear their weekly, their daily routines, and I get to see them
Right.
Yeah.
on a
Well,
regular
the difference,
basis.
I think that there's also a difference versus like old radio, because I mean, at one point, radio was the only thing you had. There was no TV, right? So the influence that radio had on people, but podcasting is different because literally anybody, here we are podcasting, can be a podcaster.
Right.
Like you got to put time and effort into it. Yes. But anybody could pick up a microphone and just start talking. And so you don't necessarily have to have credentials. You don't necessarily have to have a contract. When it was a radio show, people owned the radio stations. People
Yeah.
still do. And so you can't just say whatever you want.
Feels more organic too because we've been watching these guys for so long.
That's what I mean. I feel like whether I actually do or not, I feel like I know them, in this weird way.
Yeah.
Right? So when I hear
Schultz,
Rogan
for sure.
share his thoughts after the show about how he thought the Trump interview went, I truly believe he's saying what he actually feels, what he actually believes. Whereas I watch someone on 60 Minutes interview somebody.
Right,
I
Barbara
already
Walters. You're not getting...
I'm trying to figure out what their agenda is. Whose side are they
questions
on?
got filtered?
And is this interview fair compared to the other interview that they did with the other? You know what I mean? I don't trust them. Essentially, that's all it comes down to. I connect with these guys. I trust these guys. And if they have a negative thought or positive thought, I am way more willing to trust their opinion on it than any regular anchor.
Trust is the key word you said there.
Yeah.
Like that's what and also the other day we were talking at Buffalo Wild Wings and you said these podcasts make them more relatable.
Yeah.
So they're relatable, you feel like you know them, and then you trust them. That's the huge thing.
Right.
Which I think, and then even, you look at some of these podcasters talking about Rogan when the whole N-word thing came out.
Yeah.
And people were trying to counsel him.
Right.
Like,
it didn't work at all.
But he came out very honestly and was like,
This is how those things came out. He gave context, right?
He gave context, but he also did own it. He also
Sure.
said, like, yeah, in retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have said it. Maybe I should have thought
Yeah.
twice. Like,
Yeah.
he did give context. He did apologize.
Right.
It makes him look really human, though.
Right.
Like, you see somebody who's, okay, kind of admitting fault.
Right.
Somebody on that big of a platform, that...
He held himself accountable when
Yeah.
he could have bullshitted us, right? Mm-hmm. And that just showed another level of deeper trust.
you're not going to get in 60 minutes.
You won't, because you see these people all the time. They never take accountability for the things that they report falsely.
Which is why when they try to cancel Ellen.
Never.
Well, they did cancel Ellen.
Oh, Ellen, sure.
got canceled?
Yeah.
Yeah. She had a thing where she was like mistreating employees and stuff.
Oh, I remember hearing about that. Wasn't her set like her set looks like Epstein's Island?
I didn't hear that.
Right? Like,
I don't know.
yeah,
I just heard she was
the
mistreating
the colors,
her
too.
staff.
Everything about her set
Yeah,
was Epstein
I never
Island.
really watched her like that, but you know, we're not dumb. At least not all of us are dumb viewers or listeners to when these people on the Tonight Show or whatever show have a monologue that is a negative about one opponent versus the other.
Yeah.
We can put the connection together that one is getting influenced to do one thing versus the other. Whereas I think the majority of us have spoken and has said, try to stay biased and just give us the news. We don't really want opinions necessarily influencing your.
Facts.
Just give me the facts
let me
and
form my opinion.
give us the benefit of the doubt as people to make our own decision. You know, and
But like you said earlier, I'm guilty of it too. There are so many things that I am not well informed about because I don't do the research.
Right.
Because I mean,
all of us.
I am guilty of hearing something, not fact checking it,
I'm believing
Right.
it.
not doing my research,
And just
not only
saying it.
believing it,
Everybody,
but
everybody.
regurgitating it
Yeah, just repeating
to
it.
other people.
We all do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether we are conscious of it or not.
But I mean, no matter where you get your information from, unless you were there in the room, but even then you have your own perception.
Yeah.
Right. So it's hard. Like, we're getting these things at like secondhand, third hand, fourth hand
Yeah.
stories, no matter where you're getting it from,
Right.
you know? So
That's why those long form interviews are such gold for us as, you know, people, voters who are trying to be educated in what they're voting on.
You can always
Right.
go back and watch it too.
Yes.
Maybe
And
change your mind on something.
you read the headline on what was said, you go back and watch the full length interview, and you can pick apart what was real, what wasn't, right? And you either gain trust from that report or you lose trust from that report and you move on. And I think podcasting right now has a lot of our trust, right? And it clearly has an influence on certain demographics. So I think Kamala was put in a really bad spot. I think she really didn't have a whole lot of time. I don't think she was the right candidate for the Democratic Party. She wasn't for not only just a woman, but a woman of color, or honestly any candidate going forward. You're gonna have to have that exceptional value to you going forward. And Trump has this weird way of connecting to a group of people, with whether it's his attitude, his charisma, just
He's an entertainer.
his presentation of
comedian.
what he stands for whatever reason that worked exceptionally, which is why he has such a movement. Going forward from Democrats and Republicans, you're going to have to be exceptional. You just can't be parroting the same stuff every interview. You're gonna
We hope that's the case.
you're gonna have to have real thought and articulation behind all your answers and your values.
I
which
think
is great. That's how it should be. We want the best of the best representing us, like
Right.
with the world.
I know personally for me, like, I want more people that are relatable
Agreed.
to the normal person. Like, I don't want Donald Trumps who grew up with money that didn't really ever have to survive, you know? Like, I don't want that guy.
Sure.
You know, I don't want these career politicians or, you know, people whose great granddad, grandpa dad, everybody's been in politics, you know, like I would rather have somebody who was a single parent or, you know, had to actually work to get through college or, you know, like that had those actual like middle class or like, I guess like quote normal American
Like AOC?
experience. I mean, like sure.
I think
like,
AOC is like a far left in her viewpoint, though. I think her upbringing is there, but the way that she still has that divisive rhetoric in her speech as well is also part of that rejection of that ideology.
right.
There's a way to go about the equality, issues without making people feel that they're being racist, fascist, or misogynist.
Is that what she does?
100%. She's the one of the biggest cheerleaders.
Somebody I really like is Katie Porter. She's
Katy Perry.
no Katie Porter. She's
like her hero. I like her
she's a
too.
Democratic Californian in the House of Representatives, and she is known for busting out her whiteboard and doing math based on figures that other people have provided and literally calling them out real time while in
Well, that's at least a better step than just shoving a person that is just gonna parrot what they're trying to say.
But I
no
think
offense to Kamala, but that's just how it came off.
I think that we're also, like I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist on the fact that like I really don't think it matters who the fuck we want as a whole, popular vote or not.
Yeah.
I think that it is at some point really
BlackRock that runs everything.
yeah, you got the Illuminati or somebody who's like really running your shit.
Right.
Like I think that that's where we're at. I think that it's somebody else's deciding, pulling the strings.
Yeah.
But
I think that's right, and I think that someone like Trump, I don't think was going with he wasn't going with the flow of politics. Which
right.
is
Well,
why I think he
a lot
became
of people
such a target.
Right. A lot of people liked him because he's not a politician; he's a businessman.
Yeah, exactly.
Supposedly, but
and those were the same reasons why he was getting attacked by so many, so much media and politicians.
right.
Who's that guy that goes to college campuses and just
Crowder.
The guy with the little face?
The religious one, Charlie Kirk.
Charlie
Is it
Kirk?
Charlie Kirk?
He's the religious
face?
guy who does that.
Small. Did you say small face?
Small face, big head.
Yeah, big head, small face.
I've never heard that before.
It looks like a Roblox
that
character.
analogy. But is that
Wait,
the guy
what's
that
his
goes
name?
to college campuses and
Charlie Kirk.
has debates with these
Yeah.
college students?
Yeah.
Yeah,
About
makes
different
money
stuff?
off of exploiting young woke kids.
He
He says
destroys
he's
these kids.
speaking to voters, right? Because these
are.
dumb college kids,
Are
they're
voters.
choosing, right? So it's one way to see it.
Would you say big face or big head, small face?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Young
What-
little face. It's
I
weird.
don't agree with Charlie on, I'm not a big religious person, like his views on pro-life versus pro-choice are, they're different than mine. But I do agree with a lot of the thought process behind, the reasons why he supports his side, maybe not to the, everything goes back to the Bible type thing. But, when it comes to him articulating his points, I can see why he has a big following the way that he does, and like I just pointed out, because it's what he says. He was just like, because people come up to the mic all the time. Why you come up and you're, why are you just debating college kids? And he was just pretty much says, well, you college guys are voters, and I need you guys to, be informed.
Yeah.
So.
I've seen that.
And yeah, he just does that all day. Obviously, he puts it on video and gets clicks and titles things certain ways.
Yeah,
but
he's monetizing it.
he plays the game for sure. But I mean,
It's like what Ben Shapiro used to do.
yeah, he still does it.
I hate that guy.
Why do you hate him so
just don't
much?
like his face.
You've always said
I
that.
don't like his face.
Is it what is it called? The yarmulkes he wears?
Oh my god.
What are those
Yamakasi?
called?
Was
Yeah,
it?
Yamaka.
Oh, Yamcha.
Is it yarmulke?
Is it Yamaka?
Is it yarmulke or yarmulke? What is
I don't know.
Did you say Yamakasi?
yarmulke?
Yarmulke.
You said Yamakaze, and I really thought it was Yamakaze.
No,
you said
Yamaka.
Yamcha's a character from Dragon Ball.
Did I
Z.
say Yamcha? I said Yamaka.
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 All right,
Yamaka.
shout out to Jew. Can we just call it a Jew hat?
No, that's
No, you
so
can't.
rude.
Why?
Because that's not what it's called. It's called a yarmulke.
That only
You can say
Jew,
yarmulke.
you can say Jew hat. You can't say Jew hat.
I don't know. I mean,
all right, beat me for Jew hat.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Beat
All right,
me.
so yarmulke.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that why you don't like him though?
I don't like his face.
You don't. That's the only reason why you don't like
Because
him.
he's Jewish.
No, I remember when he did. He went off on Cardi B for the song that she put out, WAP.
Well, he's a big time religious guy. Like, what do you
And I was just
expect?
like, I just thought it was ridiculous. I was like, bro.
But do you remember what some of his main points were about that? It
Yeah,
wasn't
but-
necessarily like that she put it. Well, yeah, he is a big religious guy, but it was more of like the message she's sending to young women.
Yeah.
But you know, Cardi B doesn't even allow her kids to listen.
music.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's not entertainment for kids. It's entertainment for adults.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly.
That's,
Right.
That's fair. That's fine.
Right. So I mean, going back to like free speech, like that's free speech.
No, yeah, no one's saying it should be forbidden, but it is open to be criticized. That's
Right.
fair. Yeah.
If that's up to you as the parent to
Yeah, I would say that's
Monitor
the
what
parent's
your
decision.
kid
If
is-
you have
yeah.
daughters or sons and you don't want them to listen to that, you tell them not to listen.
I
to
wouldn't
it.
want my little girl listening to wet ass pussy from Cardi B either. I don't disagree with that. I just thought it was funny. And it
I'm
was
not a
corny.
regular
You
mom.
don't
I'm a
disagree with
cool
wet ass
mom.
pussies?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Wait, what'd you say? You
I don't disagree with what he was saying. Like, obviously, little girls shouldn't be listening to that, but that's not Cardi B's fault. Like,
No,
that's the
it's
parents'
not.
fault. Your parents should
Right.
block what you listen to.
Right.
Yeah, I
She
agree.
should still have every right to make horrible but yet fun music. That's all it is.
Horrible.
It's just fun
It's
music.
pussy popping music.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a group
It's
of guys that try to
short.
say that it's wrong for whatever reason, right? Like that's all part of the balance.
But it's always funny because it's usually those guys that are
They
trying
get
to
no pussy.
it's it's usually those guys
yeah.
that are like beating their wives or
Oh,
like
shit.
Oh, the
you
ones that
know?
drink rock stars?
right
Yeah.
Kyle's
like the ones that are like, oh, this is bad, and it's like,
Yeah. They pound 2 rock stars, they drive red trucks, and they say, yeah, America.
so specific. This is so specific.
they drink that red soda, Big Red.
There you go. Yeah, the big
big
reds.
red,
Right.
stop.
Shout
Oh
out
my god,
Santee.
did you guys grow up in Lakeside? Because like
I spent
Big
some
gulps,
childhood
eh?
years
but
in, El Cajon.
instead of red trucks, it was white trucks, white lifted
Lifted.
trucks with the fenders,
With the
Yeah.
famous hats.
yes,
Oh, the
that had like the
famous-
bill,
Yeah.
yes,
You guys remember
famous
that era
hats.
where everybody had a famous tattoo.
yes.
Imagine how many people still have the family with famous.
Oh my god.
Famous
The funniest story is
The guy's the best.
I think you were working on the shift at this time when he would talk about how him and Westwood would go contact people.
Yeah.
But based off their race, they wouldn't talk to certain people.
Right,
So
right.
so my
God.
uncle, who's Hispanic, would go talk to somebody. And usually these were people that are not desirable. They're doing bad things. You don't want them in your business.
Yeah.
And so my uncle would go talk to him. My uncle's a Hispanic man, and he would go, in the middle of the conversation, he would find out that this person is Caucasian or white, and he would say, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. And he'd cut the person off in mid-sentence, say, wait a minute, you're white? You're white? Oh, I don't deal with the white people. And the person would look at my uncle perplexed and say, wait, like what's happening right now? He's like, no. You said you're white, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't deal with the white people. He'd call his partner over, who's this big, tall white guy. He's like,
He's the guy.
talk to him.
Deal with your
He
people.
deals with the white people. And then same thing when the other guy would go talk to people in the middle of the sentence, he'd be like, wait a minute, you're Hispanic? I can't help you. I'm sorry, I don't deal with Hispanics. He'd call my uncle over, be like, hey, this guy's Mexican. You need to talk to him.
It was a TV show. All
This
of
was
that-
at work.
all-
This was the best part.
Was the first one or the second one? The
first one.
First one. Okay, back
Yeah.
then.
First
yeah.
one. Yeah.
The first place we worked at.
It's like a sitcom.
Yeah, I can
You can't.
imagine.
Yeah. You
There's
can't.
some crazy stories.
Yeah. So, some of those we're definitely have to bleep their names. So.
A lot of this.
Yeah, we have to believe.
So I guess then into the morality conversation.
I don't have any more.
There is a Yale psychiatrist who suggests that liberals should separate themselves from loved ones who voted for Trump.
That's stupid.
What?
So yeah,
Politics shouldn't break up families.
No,
No.
I mean, what if those
just disagree
politics
with
are
everyone,
like
disagree.
literally like going against who you are as a person?
Mikhail could disagree with anything. It's still my brother, no matter what.
Well, I think me and
like
you
the Celtics.
are a good example right
Yeah,
now.
the
right?
Celtics in 08.
I think we're a good example of we're on two different sides of the fence politically, but we still have that doesn't necessarily get in the way of how we are as a unit, as a couple, family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind. Yeah, I mean,
To an extent.
to an extent, for sure.
Well,
Like,
sure, there could be fights or whatever, but that doesn't necessarily mean like
I'm not going to divorce her because she's like,
exactly.
I'm joking.
Or vice versa, right? Like,
Like-
I don't know. Like, I think we're a good example of being on opposing sides and not letting it affect our personal.
I think so.
Personally, I mean, I don't know how you feel.
I don't
about
think
that.
it should affect personal. Like,
I don't think so either, because, like I was trying to explain earlier, I am siding with the side I feel the most related to, not necessarily every single thing that side stands for. So,
Right. When I look at you guys, I see a healthy marriage with a lot of love. You guys truly like seem like each other's best friends, which I know you always hear people say like, "Hey, you should marry your best friend," right?
Right,
Because
right,
that's
right.
what's gonna make it last forever, and not you're not gonna fall apart at the what is it the 3, 5, and 7 year mark or
I'm not
whatever
going
they
to
say.
marry you.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not going to marry you,
Those-
so
but if you could,
I'm not going to marry you.
Yeah,
if you could.
that breaks my heart.
we're in
Anyway,
Cali, you can.
We can. We have the right to.
that's true. But
all that matters.
and on top of all that, you're raising 2 boys together, right? So
Right,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think going back to your point earlier, I think it's okay to have different opinions.
Yeah, I
that
think
doesn't-
so.
One thing that I try to do, but I'm guilty of not doing this all the time, is I try not to be married to my ideas.
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
you know, like I have ideas, I have thoughts on things and opinions, but I try not to be absolutely married to them, and also try to understand other people's perspectives. Because I don't agree with everything that Lindsay or you say,
Right,
but I
right.
can understand where you're coming from and at least see the
Right.
point.
Oh, but when I disagree, it's a fucking problem.
I can't stand you, dude. I can't stand you, and you're always wrong.
weren't you just begging him earlier to move to live with you?
It's a love-hate.
I love to hate him, and I hate to love him.
Like when we talked about the moon landing, I was right.
He was not right.
I was right.
According to your curated data.
No, your point was that we
Everybody's
never went
data is
back to-
curated.
I said yes. We had been back to the moon multiple times.
If I admit right now, live on the air, that you were right, will you move in with me? All right, he was right.
Oh my god.
But
All
yeah,
right.
So what do you think?
That's
What
crazy.
what are
A
your-
Yale. You said a Yale professor.
I
Yes.
think that it's
Yeah.
I think that it's dependent on how your loved one is going about.
Agreed.
You know, like if you're voting for Trump because he wants to deport all the Mexicans and because he, you know, like if you're supporting Trump because he's racist or you know, like I think that there is a point, yeah, where I'm like, oh, I'm not talking to you anymore. Like clearly, like there's an ethical. I think that there is a point where it is like an ethical thing, because let's say I decide that I want to be with women, you know, and that's like a core part of who I am. And if somebody is going to actively vote to keep me from living my authentic life, then that's a fucking problem, because then you don't agree with me as a person, right?
Yeah.
So-
I guess the hard part is that these people come with a collection of ideas. You know, the same-sex marriage is one aspect of a candidate. You know, let's say they do agree with the same-sex marriage, but then all the other things about them would make a bad country. What do you do? You know,
Yeah.
and each one of us value different things. Maybe I care more about border security. He cares more about the economy. You care more about Roe versus Wade and whatever, right? So it's kind of like we all have our own priorities when it comes to where we, you know, vote or side with. And I think it's unfair. I'm just saying it's a little bit unfair to generalize a group of people based off of, a difference of opinion,
Right.
because these things are so multifaceted. It's not
Well, then,
fair.
but you have someone like Mikhail who's always been very logical about everything. He will always outweigh the facts and look for the facts. If you have somebody that votes for Trump or likes Trump just because, like he said,
Because he
they're
pisses
racist,
because
because
people
he's
off,
racist, or
and
because they're gonna think like that with their everyday life.
right.
Mikhail in his everyday
Yeah.
life is a logical person, so he's treating his political
Right, and
views
that's
in
what
a
I'm
logical way.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And the fact that Mikhail and I are able to work out our differences, but there's some people who don't, no matter what, aren't going to change their view or be able to see the other side.
Right.
But they also approach it in a manner that is like, I'm not down for that. You
It's
know what
also
I
hard to
mean?
walk away from.
Wow.
Dude, you're gonna break the table.
You're taking it easy.
I think you made a really good point, Adrian. I think it depends on why you're supporting that person.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't even thought about that until you said it. If you were supporting Trump because he's bombastic, shoots from the hip, says flagrant things all the time,
Yeah.
Bombastic.
probably maybe a racist. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I like Trump because he is racist and he
Right.
doesn't like these people. Yeah, you're probably an idiot
You're probably a
yourself,
shitty person,
and you're
yeah.
probably a shitty person yourself.
Yeah.
But if you're like, no, I really value border security. I'm not saying my personal thoughts on the whole border situation are, I think we should have a path for people from other countries to be able to come in here. But when I say a path, they still need to be vetted properly.
Right.
You just can't open your borders to people that are coming with potentially violent backgrounds, criminals, murderers. I'm not saying all these people are that. I'm not saying that. I'm not generalizing here. I'm just saying there has to be a vetting process in place, and then there should be a path that they can come in here, because a lot of the people that do come in here, they're hardworking.
They do
They just
wanna
want a better
contribute.
opportunity.
But
They want to
do.
contribute to our economy,
Right. The majority of people who come here legally are,
They're great.
yeah,
That's what America is.
right.
That's 100%.
But I mean, no politician, left or right, wants people to come here illegally.
Right.
It's more a matter of, I think the question is like how you handle these people when they are here.
Well, and some of them are doing things to prevent them better than others.
Yeah, right.
I think that's the difference.
Right. I mean, we were talking earlier about the deportation of people. And I mean, that's something that Trump recently has discussed, is wanting to deport millions of people. And that would
Send them back.
right. Well, and
It's
that
like he
would
has a little voice when he does like the undertone. Set him back, but maybe not all.
Yeah.
Like he has like a
Like earlier that video, he said something. He's
Yeah.
like, maybe more.
right.
He's an entertainer, man. That's what I'm saying.
So, like
guy.
there are, I think, certain groups of people who maybe were brought here illegally
Yeah.
or, came here under very dire circumstances. My thing mostly is for these children that were brought here. They have no idea what's happening. They have no idea that coming here is against the rules or whatever. They live their whole entire life here. A lot of them are DACA recipients, and most of those people are doing legitimate things to remain here. Or you have people who are married to citizens or
Sure.
people who have had children here or whatnot that have lived here for so long that they don't know another life. And then you're going to deport them to countries that they don't know about,
Right. So who's, I guess, the
It's not our fault.
yeah, who's to blame? Like
Adrian.
is it the person that brought them over? Is the mother who brought them
No,
over?
but how
or
about
is
this?
it the-
How about starting, if you want to deport people, start with the people who are in jail.
Sure. No, yeah, criminals, right? They
Yeah.
said that, right? That'd be the
Right.
first that they
And,
would look
those
for.
people that are walking over the border illegally, that's, hold them until you can determine.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Well, I think the rule they have that they haven't been using, but that has always been in place, is to send them back to Mexico, right?
Right.
So as we are reviewing and figuring out your situation,
But
you
then
got to go back.
Right, but the
And-
problem with that is that a lot of them maybe come from like Guatemala. There's a huge influx of people from Guatemala who travel up through Mexico. So you send them back into Mexico. Nobody gives a shit about them in Mexico, and they literally just turn right back around and come, and then maybe they don't get caught the next time.
No, yeah, that's definitely part of the game, which is why, border does need to be supported and allowed to do their job. And from what they were saying, seems like they really weren't given the full ability that they were hoping to do their full extent of their
Right.
job.
Did you know, and you can fact check me on this because I don't know if I'm 100% accurate. I feel like I'm pretty close to 100% accurate.
Probably wrong.
I was waiting for him to say something. But when you go to another country seeking asylum, I think technically it says that you have to go to a neighboring country. And what I mean by neighboring is like bordering, like
Yeah.
But a lot of people that are coming to the U.S. are coming from states that are not technically, like Mexico borders us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would make sense. It's a neighboring state.
You got to go back to Mexico.
You got to go back to, if you're seeking asylum, you can come to the United States, right? When you're seeking asylum. But when you are coming from places that are not bordering the state that you're going to, technically that's, I think I read that it's not allowed, or you have to go back to one of
So
those bordering
to
countries.
seek asylum in the United States, you must meet the following rules. You must be physically present in the United States or at a port of entry.
Right. There's a particular location you must go to.
Right.
You just can't run across the fence and then say, I'm seeking
No.
asylum.
Right.
Which is,
So that would be
Right?
like
That sounds normal.
it happens a lot.
that would
Does it say anything
be
about
Where they get sent back
bordering
to.
countries? Like, there's nothing that says that you have to be.
no. So the U.S. has, what are those things called? Not asylum, but
Checkpoints?
no, where we have like buildings in other countries where like
Consulates?
consulates. Yeah. So you can go to a U.S. consulate and
In
seek
Mexico,
asylum.
right?
Right. In Mexico, you can do it in countries in overseas or whatever. So it doesn't necessarily need to be like on U.S. soil or at a U.S. border. You need to be at like a U.S.
Like some sort of official place,
Can
right?
you Google when seeking asylum, does it need to be a neighboring country or a bordering country? It says it doesn't have to be. I could have sworn I read something that said it had to be.
No. So here's all of the rules. Be physically present. Apply within 1 year. You must apply for asylum within 1 year of your last arrival in the United States, unless you can show extraordinary circumstances. But like a whole year, you have a whole year to seek asylum. Okay.
That's crazy. What are you doing in the meantime?
Exactly. Demonstrate.
Well, have they been vetted? That's the biggest
They're
thing.
not. Right?
No.
Yeah.
They're just
But most of the time, the people that are seeking asylum are usually not the people that are like doing the bad things.
you would hope.
Usually.
I don't think that's the case anymore. I think what you're saying was right years ago, but now everybody knows that you could just say the magic word and you can get in. And then you have people like the Venezuelan gangs that took over the
Colorado.
in Colorado, the apartment complexes.
Or
That's
even
crazy.
Or what about like, we either know people or heard of people that just help bring people across, right? They bring things across.
The coyotes.
How often are they just bringing people across? They know what to say. They're educated. They've been paid off by people to do it. Like,
Mind you, they get paid well for that.
yeah,
Like
and
sometimes
sure, on the outside,
a head?
on the
2,000 a
outside
head?
looking in, it's a person seeking asylum, but really it was just another person playing the game, right?
trying to get in.
And I mean, we have to factor that into these
Right.
sad stories that also could have been situations where they were under false pretenses the entire time.
Right.
So
Then I think that this will answer your question about the neighboring country thing. So the next rule is that you must demonstrate persecution. So you must show that you were persecuted or have a well-founded fear of persecution in your home country. persecution can be based on your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. So that to me sounds like it does not need to be a neighboring country. It can be literally be any country in the world, is what it sounds like to me.
How as people that live near the border who know a lot of Latinos or whoever, immigrants, how do we feel about a potential mass deportation in the name of border security, in the name of alleviating inflation, in the name of, allowing there to be more housing available for citizens? There are benefits being taken away from migrants, as we speak, right? That stuff up in New York. I don't know if you guys heard about that, right? The mayor just announced that they're no longer providing food vouchers or debit cards to immigrants that were brought here and housed in these, particular buildings ran by the government with, what is it, public funding. They're no longer going to be providing these benefits to people. There's the side that's, it's almost like the letter of what they got to do versus the feeling, the morality, the humanitarian part of it all, like
The letter of the law.
where do we, especially as Hispanics?
I think if they do a mass deportation like that, though, there's going to be a lot of jobs, like a lot of our everyday stuff that we don't realize. These undocumented
we're gonna
migrants
have nobody to pick the food from the fields.
downtown, there's
right?
gonna be, like the restaurants, the kitchens.
Yeah,
That's
so
gonna change.
beverage will take a hit probably.
But is that
Dishwasher.
Agriculture.
Is that the chief reasoning behind the negative thought behind it? Because people aren't going to be doing things that we don't want to do.
No, I think that people incorrectly believe that these quote illegal immigrants, I guess, whatever, are supposedly taking jobs from Americans. They're not paying taxes. That's like what the general
I think it's more
assumption is
around the benefits given to them, and the argument about the debit cards that are given to these migrants. U.S. citizens don't have a program to just be given, right, just these same food vouchers, right?
Yeah.
Let's feed. So hold on, let me just finish what that argument says. Let's feed and take care of U.S. citizens because we can't even do that. So why are we doing?
I think it goes both ways, because I do think that there are American citizens that don't deserve funding or vouchers or assistance, and they do manipulate the systems. Whereas I feel like, these people are seeking asylum for much worse situations. And generally speaking, I feel like a lot of immigrants are very extremely hardworking people that go above and beyond to the point where they pay into that system 5-10 times over more than what they were given in assistance to get on their feet here. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there is a payoff, and I think that there's really negative assumptions that go into immigrants that, I think that there's way more lazy redneck white trash people than there are lazy immigrants taking advantage of the system, personally.
But then you bring up a good point, because I would probably say I don't know this. I don't know the percentages, but I would say there's probably more immigrants that are coming here that just want a better opportunity.
Yeah.
That aren't criminals. But we do know there are criminals, dangerous people that have committed felonious crimes that are coming here. And people that have committed crimes that are felonies.
There we go.
My question to you is...
But there's American citizens that commit crimes and felonies and kill Americans all day, every day.
Right, and they go to jail for that, or prison.
But but illegal immigrants are... it goes regardless of if you're illegal or if you're an American
No,
citizen.
my point is that if they're coming into the country and we don't know that background, they're not coming into the country. So you're telling me if people that are immigrants that are coming over here that have already murdered people, they're not coming across and going straight into a prison. They're coming across and they're part of our society.
Right. But I mean,
So
there's
how are we
people
vetting
that are
them?
born here that have absolutely no vetting that are buying AK-47s and committing mass shootings. They're not vetted.
But they go to jail for that because they committed a crime.
But people who are immigrants,
But you're talking
who
about like
aren't-
Minority Report. We can't tell in the future what they're going to do.
Exactly. So
We can't
even
say like, hey, we know in 2 years you're going to do this. We're
even
going to
if
throw you in jail now.
Even if you vet every single person that comes across the border, you're still not going to be able to tell what they're going to do in the future.
Right, but we could say we don't want people that have committed murder in the country.
True. But I mean, also, do you think Guatemala has fucking records of, like, do you think that their police are actually like investigating?
I don't know. I've
Probably
never
not.
looked into it.
I'm sure they don't have a crime database to just.
I'm sure they do. I don't know if it's as elaborate as ours, but I'm sure they have something.
Yeah.
They have,
I mean,
they have to have law enforcement.
right.
Whatever that looks like.
And
for
I mean,
them.
just like, to me, serial killers, like, you could pass a lie detector test. So how are you going to vet these people? I think that's like the question.
So you just want to let them in then?
I don't necessarily, and I don't, because I'm not an expert on this, I'm torn. I don't know what the right answer is on how to deal with it. I feel I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I want, to assume that the larger of the people have better intentions.
Would you give those people the benefit of the doubt around your children?
Sure. I mean, I give people the benefit of the doubt around my children on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So,
But that's I'm saying if you knew that this person came from a country and they committed these crimes, they've killed people before, like that.
But I wouldn't.
That's the whole point of.
But
trying
regardless
to vet them.
of if it was a person from America or a person from Nigeria, if they committed murder, of course I wouldn't want them to go around my kid.
Right, but how do you know?
Exactly. How do you know? I mean,
that's where the vetting
there's
process
people,
comes in.
but there's people that committed murder that haven't been caught and are walking around.
True.
Right.
But and that goes back to what we said earlier. Like you're not going to catch everybody like real time, and you're not going to be able to predict what's going to happen in the future. Eventually, they do get caught, or they're killed, or they're convicted.
Right.
I think a lot of it is also like our economy just can't sustain everybody just coming in calling for asylum.
True.
Like that's I think what it comes down to is like as much as if we could, we would. But the point is right now we're in a point where we're overloaded and we're taking up housing, like we're taking up housing that could go to, potentially some of our homeless, some of our vets, some of our people who are citizens. Maybe they're not, the best, brightest or whatever, most desirable, but they're still at minimum, they are U.S. citizens. So before we worry about other people's problems, we need to kind of take care of ours. So it's kind of like, as much as I hate the idea or what it looks like, I'm happy I don't have that job. That would involve
tough.
doing the deporting. It might be a necessary evil in order for the economy, for order for us to be able to lower, inflation, lower housing costs, and that's kind of the.
So what Lindsay and I were talking about, before you stepped away was like when these people are coming in from, other countries, immigrants, should we be vetting them or not?
Yes, definitely.
So I have my reasons why we should. Lindsay has her reasons why we. I don't know if you said we shouldn't, but it sounds like you're more.
My question is just like, how do you expect the vetting to happen? Is it based on interviews with these people, or
at least run some sort of background to see if they've committed any
but
crimes
do you
in
but
their
I mean
countries or-
do you, if they're seeking asylum from a country, just for example, because this is a hot topic lately, from Guatemala, you really think that Guatemala has like a database of like,
Well, I mean,
Isn't that what happened with Cubans? Like they,
well, I mean,
it's like the intro of Scarface. Like they sent us, supposedly they sent us a bunch of refugees, but they really sent us a bunch of criminals.
right? No, yeah,
There was no way to really tell.
no, yeah. So I mean, you got to get to a point where you're either going to, make a cutoff and have some sort of higher standard for who you allow in, right? Because the economy could only allow so many people
Yeah.
at once, right? Or you just say, fine, we'll take on everybody because we're
there
America.
There should be criteria that's met. Not everybody should just be allowed in.
Exactly.
I think that it's like the gun control thing. I don't think everybody should get a gun.
Agreed.
Like if you're a felon or if you're crazy, if you are mentally unstable, you shouldn't probably own a powerful machine like that.
Agreed.
But I don't think that all guns should be taken away or nothing like I'm not
Right.
on that side of the fence. I just feel like there should be
I think
stricter rules.
most people feel that way though. The part that gets lost is not realizing that there are certain things in place already.
Yeah.
The thing is whether we're okay with what's in place or should we step it up? Should we,
It's also
you know what I
hard to
mean?
monitor too when everyone's 3D printing guns now.
It is. No, yeah. That's all part of, those are, I guess breaking laws right there.
Yeah.
But, that's all part of the how much fat do you need to cut off with being okay with muscle being lost as well. You know what I mean? And that's
Right.
at some point, with this mass deportation stuff, if there is a direct correlation with our economy that comes with that, I hate to say it, but I would understand why we have to do it. It's a necessary evil to have, right? So I get it. I totally get it. I would hate to be the person that has to do that job, but for the sake of,
The amount of families that it's going to break up, all that stuff you got to take into consideration.
Yeah, dude.
But at the end of the day,
Right.
the rules are rules.
If you're not first, you're last.
gosh.
Sorry.
you just walked in.
You got to go fast. You gotta go
Yeah.
fast.
So I mean, yeah,
Gotta go
I
fast.
get it, and I also feel bad for the people that did do it the right way and how long it took for them to do it, and then to just say
process.
and just to allow people who did it do it the right way to allow them to stay because they have a sad story. I don't think that's fair. Because at the end of the day, there is a right way, and they chose to not follow that. However, whatever reason, and I'm not talking about the asylum seekers. I'm talking about the ones that just came across illegally.
Yeah, I think immigrants are what this country is built on. Like,
Exactly.
there's such a vital piece of like everything that we do.
Exactly.
But I think there's a right and a wrong way to do it.
Exactly.
And I just think that we need to tighten up our process a little bit more.
No, yeah, even
and-
just a little bit more.
And it does, when you mention that, it kind of does a disservice to the people that did it the right way.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It took them a long time. Like that's a great point
It's a
that
slap
I
in
hadn't
the
even
face
thought
to
about.
them. Yeah.
For people that are not doing it that way. Yeah, I just
It's that ugly thought of families getting torn out of here, right? 'Cause that's just at least that's how I picture it. That makes it such a fuck. Like
yeah.
that's an ugly thing to think about. But someone has to do something about all the people that came in here that wasn't supposed to. What that looks like, I don't know. I hope it's just criminals. I would be okay with dealing with that.
Well, don't the criminals get deported right away anyway?
Not
like
necessarily.
If you're an illegal citizen and you get arrested, don't you get automatically deported?
Not necessarily.
No.
They should be though.
Sometimes they do, but not all the time.
So I don't know.
Well,
That
because you have to remember that there's also like for-profit prisons, or like certain jails are a kind of a certain type of like slave labor.
Yeah,
where they
Samsung
can get
has,
cheap labor for free, and
That's what
so
Kanye said of modern
Right.
day slavery.
well, it is, and I mean, even in this election in the state of California, we still didn't vote to
To abolish slavery.
to abolish the
what do they call it? How do they call it? Indentured servitude, or what is that called?
well, indentured servitude is like if you
Like dentures?
Indentured servitude is if you like were given a ticket
Button.
to come here and you had to pay off your debt.
I understood it as
Yeah.
like prisoners. Like if need be, they'd be forced into military. If need be, they'd be. You know what I mean?
Well, they
Like,
do that. Like when a cousin was locked up and he was like a firefighter. or he was
Right.
a firefighter out while he was in prison.
Was he
And was
forced,
getting paid like
forced to do it? Well, if he's getting paid, I think that's
I
different.
think he was getting paid like $1 an hour or something like that. Like a couple. Like,
I think in terms of what I meant was these people wouldn't have a choice. They would have to go do some sort of service
oh, I get what you're saying.
They're
You're saying
prisoners
that like they have to go
in a
do
time
this.
of emergency. They're forced to
Yeah.
help in a certain way, but
Yeah. So
I don't know. We'll see.
indentured servitude was a type of labor contract where a person worked without pay for a set amount of time to repay a debt or a loan. So there was two different kinds, voluntary or forced.
I'm pretty sure that was on the ballot, right?
Right. And so the forced indentured servitude would be like as a punishment for a crime.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, to sum it all up, at least for me, I'm okay with getting rid of people who have caused a negative to the community, right? And then focus on cutting whatever government spending that we need to. If that means getting rid of the, education, whatever, I'm okay with that.
But you also have to think of like the political side of this, like the political relationships of you just deciding like, oh, well, I'm going to dump the worst criminals back into,
Supposedly, that's what they've been doing to us. They will release prisoners in certain countries and advise them to go to the U.S.
yeah,
So, I mean,
supposedly.
supposedly.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's
Yeah.
a story.
Allegedly.
That's a story. And
Allegedly.
it's not even that far-fetched. Like, I mean, I'm not saying I know for sure, but if it turned out to be true, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
So,
It's the Chinese nationalists.
and
Or, yeah, the Russians that are changing our vote outcomes or whatever. So many conspiracies. So,
shout out China though. I feel like China is doing like a lot of good, in the sense of like, okay, let me rephrase.
Are you
But,
trolling
like,
right now?
Kind of, yeah. But
Shout out China though.
well, because if you think about it, look at
Temu.
the way they treat TikTok. There's no dances. There's no trends on TikTok.
Yeah, that's wild.
They're
it's all
building
educational
computers. Yeah, like-
and learning.
And they sent us TikTok to make our kids stupid.
It's working.
Yeah, like all these kids are on TikTok. They're not doing anything. They're just on TikTok all day. Well, in China,
it didn't take TikTok to make the kids stupid. Like, let's be real. They were eating Tide Pods before TikTok came around.
bath
Like,
salts.
But now they do it on TikTok.
Now that
have
they
a
can record
platform.
themselves.
Yeah,
I mean, but they could
that
record
dopamine.
themselves on Instagram. They could record themselves on Twitter. Like, it didn't take TikTok to do that.
But what I'm saying. There's no social media like that in China.
Right. Well, the thing about
The kids
TikTok,
They use it. They use it all like for benefit
For what
and
it's
for pros.
The
supposed
TikTok-
to be for.
Yeah.
right? The
It's supposed to be a
TikTok
tool.
thing is the algorithm. That's like what makes TikTok special. Is like how, like
Because they have so much data on every user.
their data
their
collection or
algorithm
whatever.
is-
well, the
Is
thing-
that why it's so addictive?
Yeah.
Yes, because their algorithm is.
they're just playing to your enjoyment, whatever you like. That's what they're gonna keep.
But so do
showing
all
you.
the other social media platforms. Does TikTok just do
Not
it on steroids?
necessarily.
I think X is the only one that doesn't do it right now. That is being advertised at least. I don't
Shout
know.
out to Elon.
But at the same time, the a counterpoint to that is they don't even have a choice though. It's a communist country for a reason.
Yeah.
They get to dictate what you get to watch and what you can't watch.
There's no free internet. There's no internet.
So
there's no nothing.
there's good and there's bads, right? So we can get on that same track, but there's going to be a certain person that's going to have to decide what's best for you. Do we want to live that way?
I think it goes back to education. I think you need to make sure people are educated, or you need to educate yourself to understand what's good for you, what's bad for you, because we all know there's positives to social media. It could be a great way to, make money. It could be a great way to advertise or market. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that I've learned on social media too. Like it is educational,
It can be.
but there's also a lot of erosion of like what,
Just a bunch of mind numbing.
well, no, I was
dumb
going to say
shit.
erosion of our social skills, right? Like we
yeah.
don't, the kids growing up now, for the most part, I feel like I
They
don't
don't
have,
go outside.
yeah, I don't have
or-
kids, so I maybe I can't speak as well as you three can about it, but they don't have the same interpersonal skills that
Right.
we or our parents had because of that erosion of those like social interactions.
Right. I've seen in regards to like mental health, we used to have 3 places: home, work, and then there was like usually like a third like hobby outside of your family interaction or whatever. And me personally, I work from home, so my work is my home. And then and then I don't have the hobby, so I literally just have one place now. So like you have your
Podcasting.
Podcasting is definitely a hobby.
My podcast, and then I look right there and there's my work desk. You know what I mean? Like, so
that like, is that hard for you? Because I know for me, people have told me I need to find a hobby because I inundate myself with work, and then outside of work, it's occasional friends and family, and that's really challenging for me. But my work is at least
You can
going
separate it.
out. You know, I'm going somewhere, and you're doing it all in one place.
I mean, I think that it's like kind of like a double-edged sword, because I'm a work from home mom. And so there are times when I'm focusing on work, but I'm also expected to take care of my kids at the same time. And that's, you know, not necessarily something that any generations before necessarily had to deal with.
The work was being a parent at home.
Yeah, they weren't working. And
Or,
being mom.
right.
Yeah.
Or you were at work without your children. You know, and I mean, they are at school, but until Juju started going to school, he was at home 24/7.
So it's like juggling 2 jobs all day. Because a parent is a full-time job.
And I mean, there was a point where I was working from home and I was like, I'm not doing laundry. I'm not doing dishes. I'm not doing any of that while I'm working, because if I was in the office, I wouldn't be doing that right now anyways.
Right.
But I think that to get that work home life balance while working from home, I did have to start stepping away from my desk to do things for my home, you know, but
Has it affected your mental health not having as much social interaction with other adults and people you're...
I've always kind of been like more of an independent person. I don't mind being alone, but I do find myself like I won't leave my house all week until the weekend comes. And if I do leave my house, either he's with me or I'm just going to like the store really quick or whatever. But then I think that part of it is caused by like the anxiety, especially because, you know, having young kids, having to take them out places or whatnot. And then going through COVID where you're like, well, I don't, you know, Juju was born and then I think he was like 8 months old when the pandemic started, 10 months maybe. And so he didn't leave the house for a good year. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of like things to think about when it comes to that. But I think that, you know, a modern issue is the work from home mom or parent, really, because my best friend, she leaves the home to go to work, but he works from home. So kind of an interesting thing where I relate to him a little bit more on that. And she kind of relates a little bit more to Mikhail on the fact that she leaves and she goes somewhere else. And so kind of an interesting.
I don't know. I don't like working from home. I hated it.
I mean, I don't mind it.
Did you work from home?
No, not no more.
But you did at one point.
I did at one point.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
I mean, I definitely have a routine down and I definitely make sure to like get dressed every day. You know,
you
I
have
don't
to, 'cause then you
stay
get
in my
comfortable.
pajamas all day, every day. And I mean, granted, like getting dressed is like changing from sweatpants to leggings. You know, it's not like I'm getting like makeup, hair, whatever. But I like not having, because I like, you know, I can get up, I get the kids on the bus, I have an hour to myself before work and then start working, you know.
It's probably nice not traveling, getting stuck in traffic, paying for extra gas.
The money
pros,
factor, definitely, you know, like I can
Traffic sucks.
have a show on while I'm working, or I can listen to music while I'm working. You know, I don't necessarily have a coworker bugging me or whatever. So
Pros and cons.
yeah.
I think as you got more comfortable in your new job, that's when you found yourself being able to take on If you wanted to do a load of laundry, you're so dialed in at your work, or you don't have to necessarily give full attention to it. And,
Right.
And you were just like, oh well, I have nothing else to do, so let me.
Right. Well, and also, like having ADHD and kind of having that executive dysfunction of not really being able to act on things that I want to, or being able to determine what is more important, or not procrastinating or whatnot, finding those little things that work for you. But the ADHD thing kind of, I think, plays into I like working from home, because then I do get to do little side quests when I want to.
Yeah, you get to run the Target if you want. Or...
like I said, do the dishes, or go outside and hang out with the cats, or, like.
That's why they're coming back.
Yeah.
You're feeding them.
Yep.
They love me.
You feed the cats? The stray cats?
She buys cat food.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's
Aren't you allergic to cats?
Deathly.
Jeez. Well, go back to difference of opinions,
Look, the way that I see it, she does it in a way that doesn't affect me too much. She keeps it outside. She makes sure to wash her hands. She doesn't drag in.
Yeah, if they're like rubbing, if the cats are, because cats rub on you, if the cat rubs on me, or one of them will sit in my lap and like hang out with me, I'll change my whole entire outfit.
So, knowing that, I'm willing to, not freak out about her having that couple moments with them, if it's going to help her feel better at home, or have a couple moments of joy doing whatever, because she is also still being mindful of how it may affect me. So, I mean, I am, it's kind of, I can definitely tell when there's been a cat like right outside the door, right out here or whatever. But
your spider senses are tingling.
I could just smell. There's like a certain scent I can smell about it, But
you're a cat whisperer. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
But at the end of the day, I know she's still being mindful about me and my allergies, and then, it's bringing her a little bit of joy while being at home.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's a fair compromise.
I mean, there's definitely sacrifices on both ends. I had a cat when we met and moved in together, and I got rid of the cat in order to be with you. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people would necessarily do that right away.
Yeah. And I mean, I love cats. Like, I grew up having cats. Like, I always had a cat. I had a cat that like gave birth under my bed, like
what?
Cats that slept with me, that like, followed me around or whatever. Like I've had cats. And so, but I mean, I knew that it was a choice between like, okay, what's more important, having a cat or having like a human relationship with somebody who is now the father of my children. And
what if we broke up like 2 weeks later or something like that?
Well, I would have.
You got rid of the cat.
I would have went and got my cat back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you got to make.
I think you made a good decision.
Yeah, and I think that was like, I knew like pretty much from the get go that like this was like a real thing, and that so yeah, had to make those decisions.
He drew you in.
How do you guys go about figuring out? You rarely have done it, if any. I don't think you've ever done it. But how do you go about introducing someone, a group that may have been established? So let's say we go on a double date, me and you, whatever. A, how do you choose when it's time to take it to that step? And then B, like, are there considerations like that you guys think about or are anxious about, or
when baby cake's gonna be there?
When
number one. That is the most important. Baby cake's gonna be there.
On the married side of things, I fully support obviously my boys, right? The other flip of the coin is the person who's unknown is going to be so my wife is going to be put in a potentially awkward situation if the person that gets brought in is not gelling, and it's almost like pressure.
Oh,
for
I've been there.
for the girls to get along, right? But we're obviously gonna get along. You guys are gonna get along.
You-
I've
I've
been
been there
introduced
many
to
times.
many
But
females
at some
that I
point-
was
at
not compatible
At
with.
some point, you know, the women kind of, and there's really no
I plead the
bailout
fifth.
for her if we're out on a date. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like it's an interesting. How do you guys?
That's how Adrian and I bonded. The
Right away, the
first
first time.
night that we met, that I met Adrian. Okay, because the first friends that I met, obviously, I met Sal by default because we also worked at the casino, and then I met Cakes because we went over
lived
to
with
Sal.
Was that the night he dropped it like it was hot?
Yes, yes,
Almost blew out both his ACLs.
yes.
and he got
And then the
called back
next-
to the room. That was the funniest part. He's like,
yeah,
"Get your ass back in the room."
in trouble.
And then, funny enough, the next person I met was Daryl out in North Park
Okay,
randomly
yeah.
because we were headed to Belching Beaver.
Okay.
And Daryl was right there at, what was it, Funky Burgers? And
I
is that
don't-
what it's called? I don't know.
remember.
And so I met Daryl, and then, but then,
Right.
and then I met you at Modern
Modern
Times,
Times, yeah.
and Saul brought
Bleep.
yeah, a very annoying friend.
Thank you, Miklo.
And literally she's like, I don't really like beer.
That's when I knew I made a mistake.
And literally
It was a beer.
Lizzie made eye contact.
It
me
was a
and
brewery.
Adrian just locked eyes,
Yeah.
and both the non-verbal communication was happening of just what the fuck.
That's how I was like. That's when I knew. I was like, yeah, she's cool. I like Lizzie. She's
Yeah,
cool.
and then after that, best friends for life. So
And we're Virgos.
Shout out to anyone still
You don't
listening
remember you were
after
blacked out.
like 3.5 hours. If
Right.
anyone's listening to a full, this shout out. You 100% get what
If
we're
you just learned about soaking for the first time,
They had to put
you're
up
a
with
real
2
one.
hours of Trump talk. to
you're a
get
real
to
one.
something.
Yeah. So shout out anybody who
Yeah.
does take the time and listen to anything. You know, we're super appreciative to anybody
Yeah.
who does take any time to enjoy our content. You know,
I'm ready to get some food.
yeah.
Should we end with soaking?
I'd say this is a
a great way to
time to wrap. You know,
That's a weird way to end, but
yeah. I mean, but I like it.
yeah.
I like it.
No OnlyFans, no cucking, and shout out.
and
shout out
soaking.
Yeah. I mean,
There should be like an app for that
which one? Just
to soak, like to help someone soak.
Like that
What's the app right
task
there?
rabbit thing you were
TaskRabbit.
telling me about.
Task
What if one of the
Rabbit,
jobs was like, will you shake my
Hold on,
bed?
hold on. Can we?
Well, anyone who did stick around, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Continue to follow us, our podcast journey.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
We're only going to get better from here, you know. So definitely appreciate everybody
Yeah.
out there.
We'll have a name soon.
There will be a name
I'll have a
soon.
name soon. My affinity for Adrian will only get stronger
And we're
What
going
does
to...
affinity mean?
as the
Like Bud
podcasts go
Lightyear.
on.
We
Like some
will
infinity and beyond shit.
We'll
So-
have-
As I was saying,
we'll have real cameras at some point to avoid internal storage
Yeah.
problems. But that's all part of the journey. That's all part of us growing. So, yeah, stay tuned. Keep hanging out with us.
Party time.
thank you guys.
Let's get some
See
food.
you on the next one.
Rock on.